Thank God it's... Thank God it's... Oh, baby! It's Friday! Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how you feel this AM. I know how you should. It's not just Friday. Thank God it's Friday, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's game day Friday, my dudes and dudettes. We have got not just college football going on tonight. Georgia Tech, Colorado is pretty much it, what I'm looking forward to. Not saying there's nothing else I'm looking forward to, but that's just the one that jumps off the page at me. But tomorrow's the day, people. Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. College football. Big time. D1. Power 2, 3, 4, whatever we're calling it. College football is back. Y'all, I stayed up late last night. I'm not going to lie. Your boy's going to be fighting through it. I walked in today. I slapped the Play Like a Champion Today sign because I know we are going to be fighting through it. Worth it. Stayed up last night to watch the end of that Nebraska-Cincinnati game. Not what I expected. First gambling L of the year for Rob Brown because I really didn't think Nebraska was going to cover 6.5 last night. Instead, they walk out of Arrowhead with a field goal victory over the Bearcats of Cincinnati.
They had every advantage. I mean, because that was definitely a home field for them. As loud as that was, it was causing Cincinnati. If this was truly a neutral field, Nebraska probably would have lost that game.
I don't know if you saw what happened. Apparently, the parking lot at Arrowhead does not open until like just a few hours before that game started. But they had to call the game day staff at Arrowhead in hours early to open the parking lot because there were so many Nebraska fans that made the trip to Arrowhead to watch that game last night that were waiting to get into the parking lot. That apparently, and I don't know how far the stadium is from the interstate, but apparently there were so many Nebraska fans waiting to get in that the traffic had backed up to the interstate. It literally was a parking lot on the interstate of Cornhusker fans waiting to get in to go watch the game.
You sure it wasn't backed up because a famous celebrity was there?
Did you know that Tay-Tay and T-Rav were going to be there until the game started? And by the way, I think last night
Mahomes was there too. So, I mean, you know.
Yes, but if you are making the case that the parking lot in the stadium was filled up to see a celebrity in that press box, it was not Pat.
Well, they were not. They were not there. I just was throwing that out there. They were not there to see Taylor Swift for sure.
No, they were there to see the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yes, they were. You put that on a true neutral field. You take away some of the bumbles that Cincinnati had because they could not hear. I think Cincinnati beats Nebraska. They should. I mean, the end of that game, he shouldn't have threw that pass.
How are you, a quarterback who had 69 nice passing yards going into that play, deciding that what if I try to double my passing yardage on a freaking Hail Mary? By the way, you're in field goal range.
Oh, easily in field goal range.
You're in field goal range. Just throw it underneath or throw it out of bounds. You've got plenty of time. Like, that is one of those things that there's going out there and trying to make a play and somebody else makes one instead. That happens in football. As you become an older fan, I think you become a lot more tolerant to and capable of recognizing that sometimes the other guy just makes a better play than you do. You know what you're never going to do, or at least I'm not? I am never going to stop getting absolutely infuriated when players and coaches just make the most elementary dumbass mistakes. Like, I'm never gonna. I was infuriated. And here's the thing. I was pulling for Nebraska last night. No, I'm not yet out on Nebraska. I'm not yet out on Nebraska being a good team this year. We're going to talk. I'm going to come to that in a minute.
I normally don't watch second-tier Big Ten teams, but I watched last night because I watched this morning because it was on. I watched all of the game that was on prior, but I watched the majority of that game this morning, Nebraska and Cincinnati. I'm going to root for the Ohio team just because, but the second-tier Big Ten teams that are normally near the bottom, I usually don't root for. And Nebraska is one of those. For some reason, you're high on them. I don't understand it. And we're going to see how it plays out. This could have just been the excitement of the first game, or maybe Cincinnati's a little bit better than people thought.
I think that some element of both of those takes are true. And I am going to get to that later because I did get a text last night from a dear friend of mine, and I won't out specifically who it was. I'm just going to say that a very prominent figure in one of our local professional sporting teams is a Husker guy. And he and I have been having conversations all off season about this team. In fact, I texted him a handful of days ago, and I said, look, man, like I think I'm in on your Huskers this year. And he was the one that gave me the drink the Rule-Aid joke that I used yesterday on the show. And so last night, that game ended. And I had told him earlier in the day, I'm going with a little bit of a sprinkle on Nebraska -6.5. I think they can win this thing by a touchdown. I'm not saying that Dylan Raiola is anything more than a 15-cent knockoff of Patrick Mahomes, but I am saying I think Matt Rule's added enough talent to this squad that I think they should be able to beat the Bearcats by 7. The game ended last night, and I got a text from this dude that said, and I quote, unprompted, by the way, bull bleep game. This team is bull bleep fraudulent again. Save your money the rest of the season. Like, he's not well, my dear Nebraska Cornhusker loving friend. And I'm going to say what I said to him at the end of that game last night. Hey, relax. It's week 1. And if the Huskers are going to be good this year, it is going to be because they're able to throw the ball, which they have not really been adept at the last few years. And this is the warning shot that I have given to Clemson fans and Carolina fans a lot. And this is why I also have said a number of times. And coming up this morning at 8:20 a.m., Adam Epstein, who hosts on 106.1 in Richmond, Virginia, is going to join the show. He covers the Hokies of Virginia Tech. We're going to go behind enemy lines with Adam Epstein. We've talked about this Carolina-Virginia Tech game, and I've said, I don't know how many times, this game matters more to South Carolina than the LSU-Clemson game matters to Clemson. This game matters more because you've got to put yourself in the eyesight of the voters. And yes, they do not make their first vote until November, but you need to get on the radar now so that you can ride a high until then, right?
The computers will still see you, and since they're going to factor in, so
they are going to factor in.
So the AI is watching.
They are going to factor in, but at the end of the day, on November 3rd, a bunch of human beings are going to take some pieces of paper or whatever they use, computers, and they're going to submit them. You need to grab the attention. But that comes along with a warning, which is you expect the pass game to be better this year. Sometimes it takes a week or two to really get going, right? You could argue incorrectly that's what happened to Boise State last night. Boy, good gosh almighty, are we going to talk about that coming up in a minute?
I just want to say Nebraska, as bad as they were, are better than the majority of the ACC. Except for Clemson.
All right, we're not doing that right now. We'll come back around to that. We'll come back around to that.
We'll find out this weekend.
We'll come back around to that. But here is what I will say. I told my Husker loving friend, one of two things is true. Either A, I'm right about the Huskers. This was a week 1, coulda, shoulda, woulda done better. And they'll circle back around, though I will say a lot of the issue last night was on the Cornhusker defense. And for as much of this offseason as Matt Rule spent pointing out that the black shirt defense is back, right? Like that's been his war cry all offseason. We're going to go back to being the black shirts. They weren't last night. But it's going to take some time to get the passing game running, A. And B, do you know who the offensive coordinator for Nebraska is? Scott Satterfield. You remember him, Gamecock fans? You remember Scott Satterfield? Remember when Satterfield was your OC and literally no one was happy about it for a hot minute there? That's your guy. That's the guy that's there at Nebraska. So I will acknowledge that when I, earlier this week, started talking about the fact that I'm kind of interested in Nebraska as potentially a dark horse team in the Big Ten, I did not factor in that Scott Satterfield is still their offensive coordinator. Now, that being said, I'm going to give him a week or two because I do think there is one thing that we do have to talk about. Since Matt Rule took over in Nebraska 3 years ago, including last night where they did win a one-score game. I saw the stat last night dating back to 2001. Nebraska 4-22 in one-score games dating back to 2021. 4-22 in one-score games. Now they are 4-22. They were 3-22 entering the game last night. Now 4-22. Sometimes, as Confucius said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Sometimes getting better requires you to get better at a little thing before you can suddenly expect to be better at the big thing. They finished the game. And the Bearcats are not a bad football team. I do not think that they are they're not Ohio State, but they're not a bad football team. So for Nebraska to be in a game that, it was tighter than they wanted it to be. For Nebraska to be in that game, for Nebraska to finish that game, for Nebraska to win that game, it was doing one little thing that over the past 4 or 5 seasons, Nebraska has not been doing. Winning those close games has been anti-Nebraska. It has been the Nebraska way has been losing games like last night. 2 teams like the Bearcats. I'm not talking about losing to Penn State and Oregon and Ohio State by 1 score. I'm talking about losing a game like last night has been the MO for this team for 4 or 5 consecutive seasons now. And so while last night was not as impressive as I think I would have liked for a team that I said on this very radio program last night, I'm in on as a dark horse team in the Big Ten, I do have to acknowledge they finished the game. They figured out how to get it done. And don't get me wrong, Cincinnati shot themselves in their own groin.
They were given the game. I mean, the guy still had to catch the interception that was thrown right to him. I mean, he could have dropped that.
Absolutely. But I mean, at the end of the day,
it was basically a punt the way it was coming down.
I did use the term arm punt last night. They finished. They finished a game. And at this point, if you are Matt Rule and if you're a Huskers fan, the goal is, can we get to a point where we finish a game? And they did. So glad to see it. That being said, you got to get better, and you got to get better like quickly. El rapido. All right, we got a show lined up today, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I have said that I was always, to some degree, proud of being the one sports talk radio show in America that ignored the national directive handed down by the FCC that you must talk about the Dallas Cowboys for 2 to 3 segments per day.
You've also went against your secret society of media members, which I don't understand how you've gotten by with that.
Oh, for sure.
It's got to be blackmail material.
You know, sometimes you got to stand up for what's right, even if it's unpopular. You know, sometimes you got to do the right thing. However, we can't not talk about what happened yesterday, can we? We can't not talk about Jera.
My favorite thing that I saw on the internet this morning was I'm sure Diesel posted it, a picture of Cole's reaction.
You know,
that was I might frame that and like hang it up in the studio. Like, and here's we got room on the wall over there.
I sat down last night because I got asked to do a podcast, the Welcome Home podcast, which I've been doing with those boys every year since I got here. They're a South Carolina pod. They asked me to come on and do a little preseason prognostication every year. I'm happy to do it. And so I sat down with them and I was getting the computer set up. The wife said, can we get some Taco Bell for dinner? And I was like, you're damn right we can. All right. It's football night in America. I'm down to eat some crappy Taco Bell. And I say that with all due love and respect in the world. I drove like 12 minutes the other direction to get it.
Everyone gives them a bad rep, but people still eat there. So
for sure.
You know.
It's so we got our Taco Bell and I sat down with my Taco Bell to do the pod while I was watching a little football. By the way, did they not teach tackling in Boise, Idaho? Like, is tackling forbidden by Idaho state law or something?
It's a different elevation or something.
I got no idea. That sucked. So I sat down to do it. And as I was sitting down, my phone ping. I'm like, oh, what's up? And I got my 50 text messages that going, Micah Parsons to Green Bay. Uh-oh, Ryan Horvat is about to lose his mind. He's going to do the show nude tonight.
Okay, that's probably one of the weirder things that you've ever said.
It's obviously a joke. Ryan Horvat's a Packers fan.
I mean, just that anyone would be so excited that they would do. Okay. All right.
I would be if I was him. You are. Here's why. I believe I mean it. The Green Bay Packers are the NFC North favorite now with what happened yesterday.
Which is what I said yesterday, if you recall, even before the trade.
So with that being said,
you don't recall because I said it. And it was,
I was probably just ignoring you because you were making jokes about the ACC or something. I'm sure that was it. So, I sat down to do that. And when I found that out, I was really mad at myself. And I was really mad at myself for one reason and one reason alone. Because in order to get ready for the Welcome Home pod last night that I sat in on, I had to turn off because I use the same monitor for streaming as I do watching stuff. I had to turn off wire to wire, and I was not watching Cole Bryson's face when the news came across that Jerry Jones traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers in return for a defensive tackle and 2 first-rounders spread out over the next 2 years.
Would you like me to send you the picture? Because I can find it.
I'm about to go hunt it down, and it might be.
I believe it was on our Twitter, so it shouldn't be too hard to find.
If it's as good as I expect that it's going to be, it might take its place as my Facebook profile picture for a couple of days. Here it is. Oh, that's art. That's glory. That's beauty. That's phenomenal. That might become my Facebook profile picture for a couple of days.
I'm telling you, that's a frameable photo right there.
I'm considering going and getting another poster made today. That might have to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back here in a minute, let's talk about that because oh man. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for once again providing me relentless entertainment with 0 wins to rub in my face while you do. Let's talk about that trade and what it means to the National Football League. Kane said condolences to Cole Bryson. Yeah.
You also may not want to go to that side of the building today.
Are you kidding me? Today's the first day in the history of working here that I hope I get an email that says, see me in my office. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Oh, man. Y'all stay right there. I'll be back in just a minute.
Probably don't want that.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Biggest story of the day yesterday, even with college football making its return to television, was that the Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons. Rob Brown was right, nailed it, over to the Green Bay Packers. They made the move yesterday. Micah Parsons immediately signed a new deal with the Green Bay Packers to become the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. In exchange, Dallas returned three-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark and a first-round pick in each of the next two drafts. Parsons agreed to a 4-year, $188 million contract with the Packers, $120 million of it fully guaranteed at signing, and $136 million in total guarantees, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Micah Parsons released a statement shortly after the trade was made official that said, quote, "I never wanted this chapter to end, but not everything was in my control. My heart has always been here, and it still is. Through it all, I never made any demands. I never asked for anything more than fairness. I only asked that the person I trust to negotiate my contract be part of the process." He had a whole long statement, but he did put out a tweet that said, very simply, "Thank you, Dallas. Go Pack, go." Cheese emoji, green circle emoji, yellow circle emoji, along with a short video of him being drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, along with a number of highlight clips of him in the silver and blue. And now all of the sudden, week 4, when Green Bay plays the Cowboys at Dallas, must-see TV. Sunday Night Football, gonna see the TV that night. Look, I saw yesterday Dallas Cowboys fans twisting themselves in knots, doing everything that they could do to justify why, well, actually, this is a good thing. Actually, moving on from one of the best two edge rushers in the National Football League, actually, it's a good thing. Actually, Jerry won this thing because we got 2 first-rounders and a guy that has made the Pro Bowl 3 times in 9 years. Actually, this is really good. As if the guy that you traded to get an interior defensive tackle, which is important, don't get me wrong, but an interior defensive tackle who has made the Pro Bowl 3 times in 6 years was a dude who's made the Pro Bowl 4 times and 4 years, and is one of 2 players in NFL history that recorded a dozen or more sacks in each of his first 4 years. It's not a good trade, guys. It's not a good trade. And if you do not believe me, if you don't believe me, I don't need to point you any further than the picture that Lonzo was talking about just a second ago of one Cole Bryson's reaction to this yesterday. Cole Bryson is a Dallas Cowboys fan. Cole Bryson yesterday was on the air when this move got made. And if you're not following us right now on our live stream at facebook.com/The Fan Upstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube, The Fan Upstate on Twitter, The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch, you should. Because I think for the duration of this segment, I'm just going to leave that there picture of Cole Bryson up on the screen. Because I don't know what else you need to know.
Disregard the look on Diesel's face, too, which is also priceless.
I suspect Diesel was enjoying that a lot. Like a lot. It's not a good trade, okay? The game is very simple. And this is why I have been saying for a couple of weeks, and I got blasted by this. I cannot wait till next Tuesday to rejoin BetMGM tonight. Because I said 2 Tuesdays ago on BetMGM tonight, Bradley Evans asked me the question, which is more likely? Terry McLaurin, Trey Hendrickson, or Micah Parsons are no longer members of their team by the halfway point of this season? And my response was, there is not a world in which Trey Hendrickson does not get paid. He has. There is not a world in which Terry McLaurin does not get paid. He has. Micah Parsons will not be a Dallas Cowboys on week 1. And I got blasted, not just by them. Well, not them, because Horvat was on my side. But I got brought up, and this is not a regular occasion for me. And I only know this because I had producers on the net that were letting me know. I was getting put on blast on other BetMGM network shows that I don't have a super deep connection with, right? I fill in every now and then, but I'm not like a weekly guest like I am on BetMGM tonight.
Keep my name out your mouth.
Oh no, absolutely not. Keep my name right there on the front and center. This job is about getting attention. But I had guys on other shows that were bringing me up as an example of a guy who doesn't understand the business of football. I said, you know who doesn't understand the business of football? Jerry Jones. Now, he understands business. He gets business. But hey, here's what I've said the entire time. If you want your team to make as much money as it can, Jerry Jones is absolutely the guy. There's not anybody else in the NFL I want running my team if the goal is to make money. But here's what I do know, guys. I have been a fan of the New Orleans Saints for as long as I can remember. When I was born, my dear sweet mother swaddled me in a New Orleans Saints blanket. Literally a Saints fan since birth. I have a fleur-de-lis tattooed on my shoulder blade. Literally a Saints fan for as long as I can remember. And I went back to check the bank account to make sure that this is true. In all the years I've been a Saints fan, dating back to pictures of me in elementary school, in Shalimar, Florida, repping fleur-de-lis to school. I went back and checked the bank account. The New Orleans Saints have never sent me a dividend check for when they made money on a football season. And I'm going to suspect Jerry Jones has not sent a single Cowboys fan a single dividend when that team has once again been voted or has been named or whatever the most profitable American sports franchise in the 30 years since they've won a Super Bowl. So if you want your team to be successful in terms of making money for an owner who is not going to give you a bleeping dime of it, then Jerry's your guy. But my take from the beginning of this situation was Jerry Jones is playing a game. He is playing a ratings game. He is playing an attention game, and he is using Micah Parsons as a prop in it. He is playing a game to get his team mentioned as many times as he can on First Take and Right is Right and all these national talk shows. Jerry is playing a game to force Wire to Wire and the Rob Brown Show and BetMGM Tonight to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, to keep them in the forefront. The problem is he's using Micah Parsons to do it. And while Jerry has looked at this whole situation as entertainment, because that's what gets eyes on TV, sure, I got it. While Jerry has looked at this as entertainment, most people don't. And Micah Parsons did not. Micah Parsons is looking at this as a job. And he felt like when he was looking at other guys around the league who have not been anywhere close to as successful as he has been as a Dallas Cowboys, and they're all making more money than him, he did what many of you ought to do. When you find out, do you want to, quick aside just to make it weird for a minute, do you want to know why so many workplaces forbid you to talk about your compensation with your coworkers? It's not illegal. It's not illegal. There's no crime there. Do you know why most places of employment forbid you from talking about your compensation to your coworkers? Because if your coworker who does the same job as you or a bigger job than you finds out that you're making more money, they're going to march their ass down to the hall and demand more money. And if the managers or the owners don't come off of that, that employee's going to leave and go somewhere else. That's kind of what happened here. Micah's looking at all these other guys, including Trey Hendrickson, who have not been anywhere as close to as successful as he has been. And he goes, I just want to get paid like they're getting paid. And Jerry said, oh, I can use this as leverage to get some entertainment value out of it. And Mike said, no, I'm done. I want out. That's why I said he's gone the entire time. That is why it was no shock to me last night. In fact, if anything, my response was kind of shocked it took that long, to be honest with you. Now, that part's great. Because I know what happens next, which is, including on this show, the Dallas Cowboys are going to get 2-3 segments on every show that broadcasts in America today. And Jerry's going to look around at a team that just got worse, dramatically worse. Jerry's going to look around today and go, would you look at that? We're on ESPN again, boys. Would you look at that? Old Rob Brown's talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We're clearly doing something right. Despite the fact that you probably just cost yourself 2-3 wins by getting dramatically worse on defense. So when we come back here in a minute, let's talk about what that trade actually does mean in the NFC, in the NFL, in the NFC East, in the NFC North, etc., etc. And my favorite part about it yesterday, did you hear Jerry's press conference? Oh my God, was it art? Was it poetry? Was it a thing of beauty? We'll address that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Condolences. I think I'm just going to leave that picture there for a little while longer.
You're inviting retaliation.
What's he going to retaliate with?
I don't know. There'll be something eventually.
Be right back, guys.
was a capital G, too.
Sup, bruh?
Sup, bruh? On Tuesday, I did a national radio spot on the BetMGM network. And on Tuesday, I said on that national radio spot that I thought it was worth a ticket to take a bet on the Dallas Cowboys to check in dead last in the NFC East.
Wait, behind the Giants?
Behind the Giants. And I had some rationale for it even before the Micah Parsons trade. The rationale was, I think a lot of you are either forgetting or ignoring that down the stretch. And if I'm saying this, you can take it as legit. I think a lot of you are forgetting, intentionally forgot, that down the stretch last year, Russell Wilson was pretty good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not great, but pretty good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not saying that he is going to, for sure, definite, no question, do the same thing, pick up where he left off with the Giants.
He's not making it through the entire season as a starting quarterback for the Giants. He's just not.
He might.
The fan base and everyone else is excited about somebody else.
That's fine. But if he goes out there and the Giants start 1-4, you're not making that switch. Hey guys, we're kicking everybody's ass, but we're going to go ahead and switch quarterbacks. That's not what happens.
You said 1-4. You meant.
I mean 4-1. Yeah.
You meant 4-1.
Yeah. If they're 1-4, he's definitely getting out of the way. But I said I thought it was worth a ticket if you could get it locked in by then to pick the Dallas Cowboys to finish last in the NFC East. And that bet at the time was like plus 700. It was like 7-1. Do you know what it is today? 3-1. It's 3-1. So if you followed me on Tuesday when I said it, over double the profit if it came out. And I got put on blast even by Ryan Horvat, who is I love Ryan. Ryan and I are buddies. We text away from the air. And he was like, Rob Brown, you know I love you, dog. That's a terrible take. Well, here we are. I thought it was a fine take at the time. Yeah, speculative for sure. Against the odds for sure. But still a realistic pick. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be very close to being last in that division if they're not. And it's not just about the fact that they have now lost the best defensive player on their football team. And Cowboys fans, do me a favor. Save it. Save Micah disappeared in the playoffs. Your whole team disappeared in the playoffs. Okay? Like, the guy can only do so much. Your whole team disappears in the playoff. That's literally the narrative about your football team and has been for 3 freaking decades now. So save me your I still don't understand why you're doing this defensive Jerry Jones. Micah's not really good against the run, Rob. The Saints, of all teams, ran all over him last year. I'm not disagreeing. Micah Parsons is not a great run defender. He is a truly special generational pass rusher. And while you do have to have run stuffers, and you got one yesterday, again, I think a guy that's he's good. He's good. But he's not a generational run stopper the way that Micah Parsons is a generational pass rusher. Pass rusher has become, and you can look at the fact that the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the NFL, like 3 of the 5 are edge rushers. The other 2 are wide receivers. It is, I would say not arguably, I would say it is conclusively seen by general managers around the NFL as the second most valuable position on the football field behind the quarterback. And you moved on from a guy because Jerry, in order to stroke his own ego, made it personal for no reason. In order to make sure that he was still getting talked about on the TV every day, in order to make sure that he was front and center and his sound bites kept going viral, he made it personal with a guy who was not playing the entertainment and ratings game. So what does this trade do in the NFC? Well, I've already showed you. At the end of the day, and you know how many times I have said this, if you want a vibe as to what is going to happen, first place you always go is to the sports book. First place you go, even if you're not a gambler, first place you go is to the sports book. Because the people who set the lines at the sports book, they are the most unbiased people in America. Because if they show any bias at all, they will lose their ass in the wagertainment world. So you have now already seen the Dallas Cowboys go from a team that was sitting at like plus 200 to like plus 200 to plus 333 to win the NFC East, and a team that was like plus 700 go to 3-1 to check in dead last in the NFC East. Over in the NFC at large. Or I'll tell you what, let's look at the NFC North for just a minute. Let's look at the NFC North, where the Green Bay Packers a couple of days ago were sitting at like plus 250 to win the NFC North. They're now plus 180 and now officially have the shortest odds to win that division. They were like, I want to say they were like 4-1, 4.5-1 to be last in the division. It's now 6-1. That one player changed teams. One player changed teams. As far as the NFC at large goes, the Packers were 8-1 to have the number one seed in the NFC. They are now 6-1 to win the NFC championship. The Packers were like 8.5-1. They are now 6.5-1. One player. You are talking about one player who dramatically shifted the odds of the entire conference yesterday when he got traded. I think the Packers are now the favorite to win the NFC North. I do think it is more likely now that the Packers, a team that a lot of people were already very high on, and I do think it may 100% come down to, is Jordan Love that guy or not? If he is, because as Young Toke just popped into the chat and said young quarterbacks in that division with J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams. Yes. If Jordan Love really is the guy that the Packers have been saying he is for a couple of years now, then I think with the addition of Micah Parsons to that defense, the Packers are now the favorite to win the NFC North.
You know, we're hearing all this negative. Is it possible for this trade and everything that's happened with it to be a positive for Dallas? Is there any way foreseeable where this actually was a good move?
Is there any way?
Because they did get a player back for trading Mike Parsons. It's not like they didn't get anything for that. And they got a pretty good haul of picks. So what does Dallas have to do for them to have won from this trade? And what would Green Bay have to do for them to lose from this trade?
I mean, Green Bay is, if Jordan Love plays well, they win the division. That's where I'm at today.
I think that would have happened whether they got Micah Parsons or not.
Maybe so. So then now it would be they're solidified if Jordan Love plays well. And I'm good with that. What can the Cowboys do with where they are?
If they win their division anyway.
Dallas?
Yes.
Dallas is not winning this division.
If they win their division anyway, then was this a good trade?
I'm still going to say no.
I'm trying to be positive on a Friday. I'm trying to find a way where Dallas could actually win from this trade. Here you go.
Here's how they win from this trade. One of those two first rounders, they find another generational pass rusher. They find another guy who goes to 4 Pro Bowls in 4 consecutive years. Here's the problem. You have built a team right now that has Dak Prescott at the quarterback, has CeeDee Lamb at the wide receiver, has George Pickens as a wide receiver. Jerry has built the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. Now, granted, he doesn't have a running back. Maybe Phil Maffa steps in to be the guy, but do we think Phil Maffa is going to be prime? Do you think he's going to be prime Emmitt Smith? Probably not, right? Probably not. So they would have to take those 2 number 1 picks, and they would have to go find a new Micah Parsons, a generational pass rusher, one of 2 players in the history of the NFL that recorded a dozen or more sacks in their first 4 years in the league, a 4 years played, 4 Pro Bowls attended caliber player. That's not a thing very often. So they would have to do that. Number 2, they would have to take their brand new defensive tackle. Yay, everybody's excited. They would have to take their brand new defensive tackle, send him to the Pro Bowl, and I would say have a, let's say, top 7 defensive rushing stop, right? Like a top 7 rushing defense in the NFL. Because Jerry the salesman yesterday got on the podium and tried to sell to the Cowboys, because that's what he does. He's a salesman more than anything else. In fact, very quick, because I know we're rapidly approaching the break. Let me play a couple of Jerry Jones selling clips.
Any players, and I'm just going to give you this: not only do we immediately get a player, but those draft picks could get us. I'm talking top Pro Bowl type players. Could. Not necessarily, you're going to be quick to say, you won't necessarily get those players. You got to draft them or acquire them. But they could get us as few as 3 or as many as 5 outstanding players.
Cool. And do that. You better do it.
You can use those picks to trade again for another player or for more picks. I mean, there's a lot of things he could do with that.
I don't disagree. He absolutely could. I'm not saying there's no path for us in a year's time to look back at this trade and go, well, actually, worked out pretty well for the Dallas Cowboys. What I'm saying is the reason you made this trade was because your GM stinks. So why am I going to think that a GM who got you in a position where you had to trade away a generational player to cross your fingers and hope that the same general manager nails the next 3 or 4 moves to make up for Micah Parsons? The guy who put you in the spot that he needs to
have an injury also.
Yeah, a back injury. That I am 99% convinced. No, he doesn't.
Well, we'll see.
It was his excuse not to practice.
What if he goes out and he never plays it down for Green Bay?
It is still a dumb trade.
By the way, I don't hope that happens. I'm just trying to find another angle here.
If that was the case, here's the thought. You know what that would be? That would be the guy who is dead broke, and he's got rent coming up, and he's got a car payment coming up, and he can't feed his kids, and he goes to the gas station and he drops his last $100 on 20 Powerball tickets. We all agree that's a dumb decision, right? Like, take that $100 and feed your damn kids. But he goes down to the gas station and he buys 100 Powerball tickets. And then he wins the Powerball. Is it now a good decision? No, it was still a bad decision. Even if the statistical improbability hit and you're now a billionaire, it was still a dumb decision that you got lucky to get out of. Like, that's the best case scenario.
So what you're saying, in your mind, there's nothing that could make this the right move.
No, it's the wrong move.
Okay.
That's not to say there's not.
Okay. All right.
That's not to say there's not.
You've already decided that there's no.
No, it is the wrong move. Wow. There is.
Well, we'll see. I'm willing to let it play out.
Okay. Hear me out. There is a universe where the Dallas Cowboys come out on the better end. It's still the wrong move. It is taking your last $100 and instead of buying dinner for your kids, buying a Powerball ticket. If the Powerball hits, you go, all right, like, it worked out for you, but it was still the wrong decision to be made at the time. That's where that's at for me. All right, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we got your water cooler cheat sheet. We're going to get you the top 3 sports stories you need to know. Then we've got college football. We're going to hit your quad box, the most important 4 games in the early, mid, and late slots. Clock in and lock in, my favorite bets going into college football over the weekend. At 8:20, Adam Epstein from 610 in Richmond, Virginia, going to talk Gamecocks Hokies. And then Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge going to talk Tigers and Tigers, all coming up after this Sports Flash.
Matt Rule's Nebraska Cornhuskers squeaked by the Cincinnati Bearcats 20-17 last night in a game that was supposed to be at a neutral site. Instead, Arrowhead was filled with the corn-fed who made it a Nebraska home game. Cincy's Brendan Sorsby drove the Bearcats to field goal range within the waning moments of the fourth quarter, but threw a game-deciding interception that gave the victory to Nebraska. Boise State's time in the top 25 lasted less than 1 week as the Broncos got hammered by USF 34-7 in their opening contest. USF quarterback Bryce Brown went 16 of 24 for 210 yards and ran for 43 yards and 2 scores. Trying to talk too fast. I need to slow down. Atlanta Braves lost to the Phillies 19-4 last night. Recently acquired Cal Quantrill took the loss in his Atlanta debut, getting replaced after 3.1 innings and 9 hits and 9 runs surrendered. That's not good. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show coming up next.
Temporary lane closures throughout the day, so you may see a tiny delay there. And also construction, Highway 29 between North Main Street and Battleground Road. A couple of lanes are blocked. From the News Talk 98.9 WRD Traffic Center.
We'll be back. I don't want you guys to see me stretch. It's ugly. So I'm playing horse with the 7-year-old granddaughter yesterday, and she's like, "Papa, are you letting me win?" I'm like, "No, Silver, I'm just this bad at basketball." I had to institute the playground rule where you can't take the same shot twice in a row, though. I had to do that. I'd forgotten about that rule because she knows where her spot is and can make it every time. We also we lowered the rim, so it's where her age group plays, and it just throws you off because I'm basically going straight across when I'm taking a shot, and I cannot figure the arc. Like, I mean, I could go up and slam it, which I actually can where the thing is, and give her an automatic letter.
We played when we were in high school. We played no dunks because there was like 2 or 3 dudes on the team that would dunk every time. It's like, dude, no. Yes, Jacob, the Braves do suck. Is this news to you? Have you not been listening to me for months and months and months now?
Good morning.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. It is officially College Football Friday, people. College Football Friday. We had games last night, and I got to tell you, the vibes were high at the Casa de Love last night. The lady friend got home from work. We had a puppy obedience class that we had to attend.
So you have to attend it with the dog?
Oh, yeah, it's my dog. I have responsibilities as a pet owner.
Well, I guess you have to learn how to.
I got to learn.
Okay. All right.
Oh, no, the obedience was for me, not the dog. Yes, I attended that, and then we got back to the crib. We popped on the TV at 5:30 p.m. She said, I'm going to play my game on my phone. Enjoy your game. And I said, yes, ma'am, but only because you told me to. And I sat in the bro cave on the old gaming chair. I poured myself a nice, tall, hazy IPA into my favorite football day beverage container.
Is hazy good?
It's just a style of beer.
So
it is for me.
Mean it's like muddy or unclean.
No, it's. I mean, it's like the look is hazy.
Okay.
It's a very hoppy IPA, which I acknowledge is very much a personal preference. Most people I know do not like hazy IPAs. I love
sounds haughty.
It is definitely, if you were going to name like the official beer of hipsters, it would be a hazy IPA. So I poured myself a hazy IPA into my favorite football watching beer receptacle. And I sat down and I watched Boise State USF. And I'm going to say this first and foremost. That Bryce Brown character they got playing quarterback at USF, boy, he's fun to watch. That dude was dump trucking bros last night. 48 rushing yards, but a couple of scores, and was running at, to, and through dudes.
He also got robbed of one touchdown.
He also did get robbed of one touchdown.
A horrible holding call.
Completely agree with that. USF knocks off the number 25 Boise State Broncos last night. The Broncos' time inside the top 25, at least to start the year, lasted not one football game. And Boise State already in a disadvantage as far as trying to make it back to the college football playoffs at the end of the season. Here's what we need to do. It is 7:03 in the morning. You have just over 56 minutes remaining until you've got to get to the office. And when you do, let's keep it a buck, guys and gals. Whether you're excited about high school football coming up today, which, by the way, at 9 o'clock, Kevin Thomas and Jarrell Hendricks going to be with us today.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Same, but Kevin swore up and down the hallway last night that Jarrell Hendricks going to join us today on the show.
Did I upset John last week, so he's not going to be on?
I don't know. We're going to have to ask and find out.
Now I almost feel bad about it.
Jarrell Hendricks and Kevin Thomas of the Moving the Chains podcast going to join us at 9 o'clock. We'll set you up for the high school football Friday night upcoming. Whether you are just waiting for Saturday because the Clemson Tigers are taking on the LSU Tigers on Saturday, hang out because I got an interview I recorded earlier this week with Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge as we go behind the enemy lines. He covers the Tigers for ESPN down there in Red Stick, Louisiana. I'll replay the interview we did with him. If you are just waiting till Sunday for the Gamecocks and the Hokies, coming up in just a tick over an hour at 8:20 a.m., Adam Epstein is going to join us. He covers the Hokies up in Richmond, Virginia. He's going to pop by for a handful of minutes, and we'll get the Hokie perspective on that Sunday contest. And, of course, we're going to run you up and down my favorite bets, the quad box, the most important games in every window this weekend, and more. Or if you're maybe waiting for tonight, because Neon Deion Sanders and the primetime Buffaloes hosting My favorite dark horse in college football, the Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck tonight.
Very interested to see what Colorado looks like.
So am I. So am I. We got that one coming up for you tonight on the radio program. On the television, and we're going to talk about that one on the radio program coming up a little bit later on. But no matter which of those games is your highlight of tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, at the end of the day, we're just all working for the end of the day. We're just all trying to make it to tonight when we can watch some college football and then not get off the couch until we got to go back to work on Monday, which means you got to kill some time. No, we're all off on Monday too. Yeah. So much on the couch. There is going to be a Rob Brown ass-shaped dent on my couch by the end of this weekend.
Just quit saying stuff so you just show up Monday and be, hey, call me, where are you?
Now Tuesday,
so I can say, dude, we're off today.
Tuesday is the lady friend's birthday, but she has to work, so we're doing her birthday on Monday. So I won't be here, but it'll only be because I'll get up to go to work and she'll go, hey, dumbass, get back in bed. We're sleeping in. It's my birthday. And I'll go, sounds great. Blah, 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 blah. You're just trying to make it to the end of the day. You're going to show up. You're going to talk sports. If you're going to do that, you're going to need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. No. Here we go. Welcome to the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start just killing time between here and 5 p.m. When you get in the car, you go home and you just plant yourself in your favorite lazy boy on your favorite couch in your favorite beanbag chair until Tuesday morning, because it's football weekend in America. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, and this is item number 1. You guys remember when the Braves were hitting the baseball a bunch of times? You guys remember that? Remember that? How fun those 3 days were?
That was like 2 days ago, wasn't it?
Remember back in the day when the Braves had like 3 games where they played pretty good baseball? Remember that? That was fun, wasn't it? That ended last night. The Braves lose, not a typo, 19-4 in a baseball game last night. Cal Quantrill recently picked up off of waivers. Got the start last night for Atlanta. Lasted precisely 3.1 innings before getting yanked after giving up 9 hits, 9 runs, all earned, striking out none, and surrendering not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 big dongs to the Phillies in just those 3.1 innings. As a team, the Philadelphia Phillies last night hit a lot of home runs. 7 of them. If you're keeping track at the crib. Cool. 4 of them went to Kyle Schwarber. Shore bombs flying out of the yard at Citizens last night. Kyle Schwarber last night became just the 21st player in Major League Baseball history to have a 4 home run game. And he did it against the Atlanta Braves. The Braves drop it 19-4. And to be honest, the only reason they're on the cheat sheet is because of Kyle Schwarber. I should actually amend that. The Atlanta Braves are not on the water cooler cheat sheet. Kyle Schwarber is on the water cooler cheat sheet. 4 dongs last night. More dongs than anybody else has donged in Major League Baseball on any individual game this year. The dude is very good. The Phillies are very good. Schwarber also ended the night, by the way, with 9 RBIs. Cool. The Braves get slaughtered after a good run at Miami. They turn around. They will play again tonight at 6:45 p.m., and it's going to be bad, I think. Hey, item number 2. The Dallas Cowboys have traded 4-time Pro Bowl edge rusher Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers after Parsons asked for a contract extension that would have put him into the conversation of highest paid defensive player. Actually, let me take that back and amend that. Highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. Jerry Jones decided he wanted to keep some headlines, So he didn't do that. And there was a lot of drama that surrounded all of it. Unfortunately, while Jerry was out there playing the ratings game, making sure the Cowboys were always talked about on the sports shows. It was not a game to Micah Parsons, and he eventually said, I want out. Yesterday, he got his way. The Cowboys sending Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers in return for Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark and a pair of first-round draft picks, one in the 2026 draft, one in the 2027 draft. Before Micah Parsons got off the airplane, he agreed to a 4-year, $188 million contract with the Packers that includes $120 guaranteed at signing and $136 million in guaranteed money in total. The Green Bay Packers saw their odds to win the NFC North get cut in half, get shorter by half with this move. Absolutely ridiculous from Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. If you haven't yet, you should go to the Fan Upstate on Twitter and go look at the picture of Cole Bryson yesterday when he learned live on the air that Micah Parsons was getting traded to Green Bay. I want to text Cole and just be like, hey, buddy, you okay, big guy? You hanging in there, man? You know that thing that like when you have a friend and they get dumped by somebody who was way out of their league, they get cheated on by somebody that they were head over heels with, and you want to send that text and be like, how you doing? But you don't really know what to say. That's me with Cole Bryson right now, because I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be no. I'm not okay.
Yeah, I'm going to send them a wellness check text.
I don't know what to say to a guy in that spot. I don't know what you say.
Well, I'm telling them you wanted me to do it, so
that's fair. That's good. Put it on me, but don't make me type it out. I respect that. I like that. We'll see if Cole's okay.
Well, you're busy.
Cole Bryson, if you're listening, call the show. I need to talk to you. I need to make sure you're okay. Okay? I need to make sure you're good. Micah Parsons headed to the Green Bay Packers in return for Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark. He has made the Pro Bowl 3 times over the past 9 seasons. Micah Parsons, 4 Pro Bowls in 4 years, one of just 2 players in NFL history to record a dozen sacks or more in each of their first 4 seasons in the league. When you combine this with the Luka Doncic trade from a few months ago, if you are a Dallas sports fan right now, are you a Dallas sports fan right now? Because I got to tell you, I got to feel like after the Luka trade, you got to feel like you got kicked in the nads. And then yesterday, it's like just when you started to feel like you were back to normal, Jerry Jones walked over and kicked you in the nads again.
He's not responding. I don't know why. I mean, we're just concerned for his well-being. I'm
concerned for his well-being. I am also not going to be surprised if it turns out that my dude Cole Bryson is like 3 to 5 bottles of Goldschlager deep from last night.
No, he's got a bunch to do today, and he's, I'm sure, well prepared for his show this afternoon and doing the Burns game this evening. So we would not imply that he's doing other things other than he's probably sad and upset, but he's a professional. So he's gonna be here today doing the things that he's supposed to do, things that he loves.
We'll find out. Wire to Wire is a must listen to today. Now that Cole's had 24 hours to process what this deal is. Cornchip said, tell Cole to do the same. It's just a game and just one player. He'll be fine. I mean, yeah, if Dallas finishing last in that division makes him fine, then yeah, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. I like that bet even more than I did a couple of days ago when I took a flyer out on it. Give me Dallas to finish dead last in the NFC East. I took it before this trade happened for 2 reasons. Number one, whether it's Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart, I actually think they're going to get some good quarterback play in New York to pair up with a pretty damn good overall wide receiver core, TBH. I was already in on Cowboys last in the division. Now I also felt like this trade was going to happen. I don't know if it was Green Bay.
Scatterboo play for the Giants?
Correct.
Yeah.
They got a run game. They got a pass game. Question is the defense going to be better? Probably. We'll find out. I like that. I like that bet more than I did the other day. I just like to congratulate Jerry Jones on being front page on the headlines again. Congrats, Jerry. Congrats. Let's get item number 3. I didn't know really where to go with this, except for I knew exactly where to go with this. Item number 3. It's college football week, people. It's college football week in America. We started it off last night. The number 25 Boise State Broncos went on the road down to Tampa, Florida. And the USF Bulls said, get your ass back on the airplane and take this L with you, boys. 34-7. The South Florida Bulls knock off the Blue State Broncos. The Broncos' time in the top 25 over before it really got started. Rutgers was up a lot to a little on the Ohio Bobcats. It ended up being a barn burner. The Scarlet Knights able to sneak away with a walk-off field goal, 34-31. NC State got the better of ECU. ECU made it close and interesting late. They did get it within a touchdown, 24-17, your final in that one. I was kind of interested in seeing if NC State might be a surprise team, because the other side of that coin is if they're not, this might be Dave Doran's last year in NC State, but he does start the campaign off with a W. Duke put 45 up on Elon, one of the few teams that did cover their spread last night. The Blue Devils start off at 1-0. Oklahoma State all over UT Martin, 27-7. Minnesota, PJ Fleck rolls the boat as they knock off the Buffalo Bulls, 23-10. Houston all over Stephen F. Austin. That's the other Stephen Austin out there. 27-0 in that one. UAB downs Alabama State 52-42. Nebraska figures it out, and knock off the Cincinnati Bearcats in a very close game, 20-17. And I have a lot more to rant about that game coming up here in just a little while from now. But Nebraska 1-0. That's a game they used to lose like a lot. They used to lose that game a lot. They get it done last night. We'll see if that is step 1 in the right direction. Is it Rule Aid or Rules Gold? That's a bad one. It's like Fool's Gold, but Rules Gold. You get it. Out in Lincoln, Nebraska. We'll come to that one. And Wisconsin, 17-0 winners over Miami of Ohio. Tonight, handful of games. Tarleton State is at Army. App State at Charlotte, right up the road. The number 12 Illinois Illini taking on Western Illinois at 7:30. 2 big games on the night. Auburn is out in Waco to take on the Baylor Bears at 8 o'clock. Also at 8 o'clock tonight, the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck Yellow Jackets are out in Boulder to take on the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, as far as your Saturday schedule goes, we're going to talk about that when we come back. I'm going to give you the most exciting, electric, interesting games that I'll be paying attention to in week 1, and a couple of thoughts on each. The Rob Brown Show continues after this on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. We'll be right back.
Can you dig it?
All right, Armada, let's get you involved with the radio program. The phone number is 844-326-3663. As far as I know, our phones are working again. The text line, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, as 844-326-3663. I want you to call that number. I want you to text that number. And I want to know from you, football fans around the upstate, I want to know from you, what's the most important thing we're going to learn in week one? What's the most important thing that's going to happen in week one? What is going to be the most important takeaway from week one? And you can answer about your team. You can answer about college football at large. However you want to approach and answer this question, I'm good with it. What is the most important thing that we are going to take away from week number one? I got some for all the teams that we cover. Let's start with the Clemson Tigers. Let's start with the Clemson Tigers. Here is one. Can y'all run the football? I think you're going to learn that, and I think you're going to learn it quickly because LSU's got a very good defensive line. And I have said a few times already that while the ACC, I do think is going to be better than a lot of you are giving it credit for. We'll see if I'm right or if I am wrong.
Nope.
While I think they are going to be better than expected, I also think if you are going to win this conference as easily as just about everybody thinks you're going to win this conference, and you are going to parlay winning this conference as easily as everybody thinks you're going to win this conference into a run to a natty, you're going to have to figure out how to run the football. And the question mark obviously is about Adam Randall. Now, there's a lot more that we need to find out. We need to find out if this wide receiver room actually is going to be as talented as folks are saying that it is going to be. You will get a good look at that because as ESPN Baton Rouge host Matt Moscona joined me earlier this week, we're going to play my interview with Matt coming up here in just a few minutes. The question mark is going to be, can Cade Klubnik throw the football against a very good set of LSU safeties? Moscona told me earlier this week that while the defensive backfield of LSU is not as good as it was a few years ago when LSU was DBU for a couple of years there, it's pretty good. They upgraded quite a bit. And he said that while he does think that Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik are the best two quarterbacks in college football this year, he said he thinks this will be a challenge for Cade Klubnik, even if the wide receivers are indeed upgraded this year. Is that true or is it not? A. And B, if Adam Randall cannot run the ball, if Clemson cannot run the ball, they attack Cade Klubnik. And now Cade has to run a lot more. I think we're going to learn that lesson, and we're going to learn it very quickly. That is the biggest question about week one for Clemson. For South Carolina, I think the biggest question is, do you take advantage of the spot that you are in? The spot that you are in being the hype is on you. Right now, the attention is on you. I did, by the way, ask Matt Moscona where he is on South Carolina. And you Gamecock fans, even though we talked LSU, Clemson primarily, if you listen to the interview, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump out here in about 2 minutes, and I think we'll play it next because I think we got time to stick it in the next segment. So the question mark there is going to be, A, is Lenoris that dude? But I think we already know the answer to that. We will find out because I will, as a bit of a spoiler, tell you, I don't think Gamecock fans are going to like Matt Moscona's answer. But is he that guy? One, I think we need to learn is face on the running back that you need him to be, especially considering, and I asked this question last night, even if you were optimistic he was going to be able to play, how many first team practice reps did you take away from him and give to guys like Attaway because you did not know if he was going to be able to play or not? And does that impact his preparation, his preparedness, his ready ability for this game against Virginia Tech? But the biggest takeaway for South Carolina is going to be, I think, do you take advantage of the situation you're in? Not just playing Virginia Tech out of the gate, but playing Virginia Tech out of the gate and being the only ticket at that point in time. You got a primetime slot on Sunday, and you're the only team playing at that point in time, which I've said, I think you got to go out there and wax Virginia Tech, not because you need the resume boost. I think you got to go out there and you've got to show the voting committee, who do not vote until November, they need to be paying attention to you now. They need to know now that you are a good football team. You need to put it in their noggin now that even if we take a couple of L's in the back half when we have the worst 7-game stretch to end the season, we're still a really good team. And I think that you have the opportunity to go put 40 on Virginia Tech, blow the doors off the Hokies. And if you do that, the folks on that selection committee will have no choice but to acknowledge you now. And if they acknowledge you now, maybe you got a chance of doing something. Hey, we asked that question earlier this week to Matt Moscona of ESPN Baton Rouge, but we talked a lot of Clemson LSU. And when we come back, I'll let you know what Matt had to say. We'll do that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I think I found a way for you to have that video played upload. We better find out.
Hope so. I believe in you.
I don't, but I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I know we're trying to temper our expectations, but how in the hell can we? It is week 1. And yeah, there's some folks playing football up in Columbus, Ohio. You guys are hitting out with me while I experiment with this. I got to think just about as many eyes on Saturday night. Well, you don't get to watch it, guys. You're just going to have to listen to it. Sorry about it. Sorry about it. All right, be right back. Don't go anywhere.
and X-Wings.
I've never had a sentence make me as happy. Clemson LSU Saturday night in Death Valley. The one that's here, not the one that's down there. Earlier this week, I got the opportunity to sit down and record an interview with a gentleman who has been dominating the social media world when it comes to being a college football talking head. Matt Moscona is a host on ESPN Baton Rouge, covers the LSU Clemson, or covers the LSU Tigers very closely. Had the chance to have him on the show earlier this week to preview that game. Here is that interview with Matt Moscona of ESPN Baton Rouge. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the fan upstate. I know we're trying to temper our expectations, but how in the hell can we? It is week one. And yeah, there's some folks playing football up in Columbus, Ohio, but I got to think just about as many eyes on Saturday night will be tuned to Clemson, South Carolina, when the Tigers of Death Valley take on the Tigers of Death Valley. LSU and Clemson, a little night game to talk about it. Joining us here on the show from ESPN Baton Rouge. He is a gentleman I have been following on social media for a long time. Got the privilege and the pleasure of meeting at SEC Media Days, and now kind enough to take a few minutes to join us here on the show. Matt Moscona. Matt, what's up, big fella? Happy game week, brother. How we doing?
Doing awesome. And by the way, Rob, so there will be no one in Columbus, Ohio watching football when LSU and Clemson are playing, because that game is at 11 a.m. Central because the Big Ten is stupid.
Night games are where it's at, and I'll never understand anyone who feels differently.
My understanding is even like Ohio State people are upset with this game being the 11 a.m. or the big noon kickoff game. And I don't blame them. I mean, it's I understand the Big Ten has, every place has their thing, their tradition, but I mean, there's a reason every major event, sporting event and otherwise in the world is in prime time. It's the most eyeballs, it's the most interest, attention, football under the lights. Yeah, man. Like you can do your snow at noon when it's Indiana and Purdue in November. Not having Texas, Ohio State at night is a big whiff.
Yeah, Cardinals said, don't get me wrong. As a guy who is going to be covering Clemson LSU, I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
at least I'll get to watch it live in real time. So selfishly, thanks for that. Let's jump in a little bit into this game, and I'll just kind of throw it to you open mic for the first one. 36,000 foot view. What does this game mean to LSU? What would it mean for LSU to come to Clemson and start the year off with a dub on the road against the top 5 team?
Well, look, I mean, LSU's got this stigma. Everybody knows now they've lost 5 straight openers. They haven't won a season opener since the Joe Burrow year in 2019. So there's a variety of different reasons. A couple of those were Ed Ogeron when he was crashing the plane. Brian Kelly inherited a mess. They had opportunities in all 3. Last year they led USC going into the 4th quarter and couldn't finish. So that's part of it. You obviously want to get off to a good start. They focus so much this offseason on Clemson. You know, you walk into the football ops building and everything has, it's 1-0 on everything. These big video boards at the indoor practice facility has 1-0 on there. Everything they focused on is trying to win this opener. So to that end, it's important. Now, you mentioned the 36,000 foot view, which the reality is for LSU, yeah, of course you want to win the game, but it's not paramount that you win the game because it's a non-conference game. And with an expanded playoff, there's nothing that would prohibit LSU from getting to Atlanta, winning the SEC, and earning a playoff berth, or finishing 10-2 in the regular season, even with a Clemson loss, or 9-3, 6-2 in the league, which could still get you in. I mean, I guess the point is, would a loss for LSU on Saturday make the path more cumbersome? Absolutely. But is it still very doable for them to get where they want to go? Sure.
Brian Kelly. I've heard people from one side, Peter Burns over on the SEC network, saying there's no world that Brian Kelly is on the hot seat for a variety of reasons. And then I've heard people on the other side saying if he can't get at least a playoff berth this year, LSU has to start thinking about where they're going to go next. Where are you on that spectrum regarding Brian Kelly?
Rob, there's a big difference between hot seat and how you phrase it, which is thinking about where you're going next. There's a big difference. Peter's right. Brian Kelly's not on the hot seat, and he's not going to be fired, no matter what happens this year. Brian Kelly has a 10-year, $95 million contract at LSU with 90% of it guaranteed, which means, as I've said since the day they hired him, for better or worse, Brian Kelly and LSU are financially bound to one another for a decade. And LSU, if they fired Brian Kelly after the season, would owe him some $50 million. And this, while LSU is not a poverty program, it's also not the program that's going to stroke a $50 million check for a coach not to coach the program. So, no, Brian Kelly is in no danger whatsoever of being fired after this year. Now, if this season ends disappointing, they don't make the playoff, and Garrett Nussmeier is gone, and all the transfers that you bought to come in this year are gone, and you regress in 2026, then you might be looking at what is the exit strategy? How much longer does this go? That's when those conversations could theoretically happen. But right now, there's literally no talk or possibility of that happening.
Matt Moscona joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. He's a host on ESPN Baton Rouge. And if you've ever been on social media talking about college football, the dude is showing up in your feed. Trust me on that.
I am dominating your algorithm, I swear.
Buddy, it's like it's you, it's Crane and Co., and it's Peter Burns just on repeat. And I got to tell you, I've had worse things happen on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I can imagine.
We'll leave that there. Let's not get ourselves in trouble. Let's flip over. Let's talk quarterback. And this, to me, Matt, is the game. I think the Clemson Tigers may very well have the best front seven in college football. I think there could be anywhere from 2 to 4 guys that are first or second round draft picks over the next couple of years. On the flip side, Garrett Nussmeier is being discussed as potentially a Heisman Trophy finalist. He's being discussed as the reason that this program is elevated. I know that Jaden Daniels is there a couple of years ago, and that team still went 9-3. What is it about Nuss that is going to take this team to the next level? And is he ready to stare down 3, 4, potentially 5 NFL draft picks across from him on the Clemson defense Saturday night?
Well, the Jaden Daniels component of it, they went 9-3. That was no fault of Jaden Daniels. They went 9-3 because Jaden Daniels was awesome. That was literally the worst defense statistically in the history of LSU football. Garrett's been through the fires. He's been through the wars. I mean, I would say about Garrett, you go to Central Casting to pick a quarterback, it's something like that, right? Tall, big arm, can make all the throws, moxie, son of a coach, smart. What Garrett didn't have a year ago is just experience. Well, he's got that now. I don't think this game comes down to Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik, actually. The other part of your question, though, Rob, I think is good, asking about the Clemson defensive front. Because when I look at Clemson's defensive front, I mean, Parker and Woods are outstanding. Like, if you have eyes and air in your lungs, you can see those are outstanding players. Clemson's defense also was 84th against the run last year. They allowed 4.7 yards a carry. In their 4 losses, they allowed an average more than 200 rush yards per game. 3 of the 4 all ran over 200. Georgia was the only one that didn't. They ran for 169. That's the game here. Like, I get that Parker and Woods are really good players, but sometimes you have really good players on bad units. And Clemson was, objectively, a bad rush defense a year ago. That is not my subjective opinion. They were in the bottom third of the country in rush defense with those guys. So I look at LSU, and here's the flip side. LSU last year had 4 offensive linemen that were drafted, including the number 4 overall pick. And LSU was dead last in the SEC and 107th in the country in rush offense. So much of this offseason at LSU has been focused on the conversation about this offensive line improving and the running game being better, a greater commitment to the run. So you have 2 units last year that were bad. Clemson's rush defense was bad. LSU's rush offense was bad. Both, I'm certain, are making a very intentional effort to be better. Which one is? I'm telling you, man, you open up the box score Saturday night, Sunday morning, you need to look at one thing. Look at one line in the box score, LSU's rushing offense. If LSU runs 23 times for 64 yards, they will lose. If LSU runs 34 times for 175 yards, LSU will win and might win comfortably. That is, to me, the entirety of this game. You have 2 veteran quarterbacks, immense talent at receiver. You have veteran talent on both sides of the ball at every level. This is going to come down to who can finish drives, who can control the clock, who can run the football when they need to. And if LSU can, I think they'll win. And if they can't, I think they'll lose.
Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. So let's flip that over. Clemson, obviously, question mark about the run game with Adam Randall, a converted wide receiver, moving to RB1. But the belief is Cade Klubnik, who threw for all the yards, all the touchdowns, and just a few picks last year, and finally has an upgraded wide receiver room, if you believe the scouting reports out of Clemson. They may have to throw it for 275 plus and a handful of scores through the air if they want to win this game. Is LSU's passing defense up to Cade Klubnik if we get the best version out of him that Dabo Swinney has been selling this offseason?
Well, they've upgraded. Listen, LSU is a far cry from what they were when they had rightfully earned their DBU moniker. You know, when you had guys like Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu and Eric Reed and Tre'Davious White and Grant Delpit and Derek Stingley. I mean, everybody knows the names. I mean, they were awesome. This unit isn't going to remind you of that. But they went and got very aggressive in the transfer portal to improve, particularly, Rob, at safety. Safety play at LSU last year was quite literally the worst that I had ever seen at LSU. If you look at Pro Football Focus, I don't know if you're a believer in Pro Football Focus grades, but the 2 lowest graded starters were 2 of their safeties. One of those guys is gone. The other is now running with the 3s. It's just to illustrate kind of what they did in the portal in this offseason. They went and added A.J. Halsey from Houston, who was first team All Big 12 last year, led the conference in interceptions. They added Tamarcus Cooley from NC State, who played against Clemson a year ago. And then they got a couple of 5 and 4 stars that are second-year players behind him that they hope will give good depth. But, you know, they're getting back to the standard that had been set here for so long. They're not there, but the real question for this team is going to be how much have they closed that gap? They're undeniably more talented in the defensive backfield this year than they were a year ago. But is it enough to run with Clemson, returning their top 3 receivers from a year ago, getting help in the portal with I forget his name, but the big kid who's like 6'7" that they added. Those are all very valid questions. I think Cade Klubnik is outstanding. I think he and Garrett Nussmeier are the 2 best quarterbacks in college football. And it'll be fun to – and by the way, they're both unicorns because they're both fifth-year guys that stayed at one school the entire time, which we may never – literally never see a matchup like this again of top 10 teams with quarterbacks that are in their 5th year that never transferred. So take a picture. We literally may never see it again. But, I think LSU's secondary – there's 2 position groups to watch for LSU. I mean, it's the offensive line, the ability to run the ball, and it's safety play. If those safeties come downhill and help against the run and can prevent the big play over the top, I think that frees up Blake Baker to do what he wants to do defensively to control the action. If they can't, then LSU's in trouble.
Matt Moscona joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, couple more minutes here, Matt, before we turn you loose, because I know it is absolute chaos this week for you getting ready for week 1. Give me your overall projection. And I know we've talked about LSU's ability to run the ball and to stop Cade Klubnik hitting the big bomb. But are those the 2 keys to the game? Are those 2 things that you are locked in on that make the difference? What is the final outcome of this game, and because of what?
Yeah, I don't think that I don't know that there's a lot of value if you're a sports bettor in the line on this game. I know I saw DraftKings had it 3.5. So, in the NFL, there's the key number of 3. So you move off of that. Some bettors may say there's more value with LSU getting 3 and a hook. The number may climb closer to kickoff too. I just don't see a lot of value there. I see the value in the under because, Rob, I think this is a defensive game. For all the talk about the quarterbacks and the talent, rightfully so, I think sometimes, especially early in the season, it tends to be more dominated by defense. And I think both these teams have NFL talent at all 3 levels. That's going to make it hard to move the ball and score. I don't think either team gets into the 30s. I think this is a 20s game. I have picked at Clemson 24-20. And it's one of those things where if this were a neutral site or in Baton Rouge, I might feel differently. And if they played in week 3, even at Clemson, if they played in week 3, I might feel differently. But this LSU team's composition is one that's going to be one of the most talented teams in the country this year. Look, Brian Kelly disclosed it. They spent $18 million in the transfer portal this year. I mean, they have an insanely talented roster. They just have a whole bunch of guys that haven't played together yet. And asking that group of guys that haven't played together yet to go on the road at Clemson, true road game against a team returning more experience than any other team in the country, just a big ask. So, like, I'll tell you what I would love to see. I would love to see this game again in January to see how different it may look. And I think it would look quite different, actually. But, yeah, I do think I think LSU's got to be able to go run the ball like we talked about. I'm going to have to see that to believe it with 5 new starters on the offensive line. But if LSU can run the ball, then I think they will pull the upset and win. But if they can't run the ball, and I'm skeptical as to whether or not they can, I think Clemson probably wins a low-scoring game.
Matt Moscona here on the show. Very good chance we may see this game again in January as both of these teams inside angling to make the college football playoff. Real quick before we let you go, your thoughts on the Southeastern Conference deciding to move to a 9-game conference regular season?
I love it. Just think 3 permanent opponents is absurd because nobody actually cares about Auburn, Georgia, or Bama, Tennessee. I want equitable scheduling is what I want. I want the Power 4 to only play Power 4 opponents. I want to get rid of the G5 forever. Or they can exist, just go play each other and exist in your own little world. I only want Power 4 games. I want all Power 4 versus Power 4. So there's equitable scheduling across conferences. And within the conference, I want equitable scheduling. It's absurd that, for example, in the former format, LSU's permanent was Florida, but Ole Miss got to play Vanderbilt. And Kentucky got to play Mississippi State. That's not equitable. It needs to rotate. And there will be imbalances based on given years and how the power shifts happen. But when it's rotating fairly, that's great. Now, I'm also not a moron, and I understand that that's not going to happen because the league is going to protect those rivalries. But yes, a 12-game playoff is better than 4. 16 will be better than 12. A 9-game league schedule is better than 8.
And finally, because we obviously up here in the Upstate have a ton of Gamecock fans who have been suffering through this much discussion about the Clemson Tigers, you said earlier you think that Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier are the best 2 quarterbacks in college football. Where are you putting Lenoris Sellers on that list?
Rob, your Gamecock fans are not going to like me because I think South Carolina is the most overrated team in college football this year.
Wow.
I have them at 7-5. I watched Lenoris Sellers for half a season not be able to hit water if he fell out of a boat. Now, the throw in the end zone against Alabama is unconscionable. They should have won that game. I think he's a fantastic athlete and may improve. Everyone has the right to improve. I also think a giant part of South Carolina's success a year ago was all that defensive talent. And, like, Kennard's gone. Hemingway's gone. Eminwari's gone. Like, that defense was gutted. South Carolina is not the type of program that builds and sustains talent at that level. And then look at their schedule. Like, who put that thing together? Like, I think Carolina's a 7-5 football team.
I think they have the arguably most difficult final 7-game stretch of anybody in football. We will keep an eye on that. Matt Moscona is a host on ESPN at Baton Rouge. And I'm pretty sure at this point on like 12 to 18 other shows around the country, depending on what hour of the day you happen to tune in. My man, pleasure to meet you. Great to have you on the show. I hope we can do it again sometime. Thanks for taking the time, partner.
Happy to, Rob. Thanks, man.
Matt Moscona joining us here on the Good job, me. Thanks for the outro there, me. Nailed it. Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge. Takeaways from that. Number 1, likes the under a lot in the game, is picking Clemson to win the contest coming up on Saturday night, but also said that he thinks it is more about LSU with $18 million in the transfer portal to put this roster together, needing some time. He said, I think I'll take Clemson out of the gate, but if this game is getting played in week 4, week 5, I might feel different about it. We'll address that coming up a little while later on in the show. Also said he thinks South Carolina is the most overrated team in America coming into this year. Said he thinks that this is a 7-5 football team at the end of the year.
Who's he covering again?
That would be the LSU Tigers.
Oh, okay, so there's probably no bias in there at all when he's talking about South Carolina. I'm sure
he quite literally picked Clemson. Like in the same interview, 6 minutes before that, he picked LSU to lose to Clemson.
I mean, I realize they're opponents, but as far as the SEC goes, they're both in the SEC.
What if
obviously there's bias against South Carolina?
What if I told you, Lonzo?
Everything that he talked about was great till that point when he said what he said, and then so I just discount everything that was before that. So I wasted like 20 minutes there.
What if I told you that there are actually a lot of people nationwide that do not believe in South Carolina this year? What if I told you that there's a lot of people picking this team to go 7-5? Like, we get all the hype because we're right next door.
I would say
they're all biased.
We're not nationwide. We're in South Carolina. That's what I would say.
Right, but that doesn't mean he has to come on and kiss booty cheeks.
I don't care what the nation says. I only care what's said here in the state.
Well, he's
by the people here in
Louisiana, so
right. He's not in this state. Right.
Here's what I'll say. I honestly, there was really nothing that he said through that run. There was really nothing he said in that run that I had an issue with, like including that. I think a lot of people are out on the Gamecocks.
The only correct thing that he said is that Clemson's going to beat LSU. That's the only correct thing in the entire thing. How's this guy nationwide?
Because he's very good. He knows ball.
Apparently he doesn't because of his comments about South Carolina.
When we come back here in just a minute, out of the gate at 8, I'm going to give you, we're going to clock in and lock in for the first time this year. I'm going to give you my favorite bets, my favorite picks from the weekend upcoming at 8:20 a.m. Adam Epstein covers the Virginia Tech Hokies up in Richmond, Virginia. We'll talk South Carolina, Virginia Tech as we go behind enemy lines for that game. Then at 8:40, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast going to join us. We'll talk Panthers. 9 o'clock, Kevin and Jarrell moving the chains going to set you up for the high school football weekend. And then after that, it's all football preview the rest of the ride. Now, it's a sports flash from a totally unbiased Lonzo.
I don't think there ever will be a totally unbiased Lonzo.
At least you admit it.
And I'm okay with that. Made a career out of that. Atlanta Braves lost to the Phillies last night, 19-4. Recently acquired Kyle Quantrill took the loss in his Atlanta debut, getting replaced after 3.1 innings and 9 hits and 9 runs surrendered. Braves pitching gave up 7 home runs, including 4 to Kyle Schwarber. That's a lot. It really is a lot. Boise State's time in the top 25 lasted less than 1 week as the Broncos got hammered by USF 34-7 in their opening contest. USF quarterback Bryce Brown went 16-24 for 210 yards and ran for 43 yards and 2 scores. Matt Rule's Nebraska Cornhuskers squeaked by the Cincinnati Bearcats 20-17 last night in a game that was supposed to be at a neutral site. Instead, Arrowhead was filled with the corn-fed who made it Nebraska home game. Since he's Brendan Sorsby drove the Bearcats within field goal range and then threw an interception, and that's how the game ended.
Your access to cutting-edge pain relief just got even easier. QC Kinetics now offering virtual consultations for new patients. Hey, it's Rob Brown. If you are living with chronic joint pain, you can now meet with a QC Kinetics medical professional from the comfort of your own home. This all-new telemedicine platform is an exciting and time-saving option. It can either be by phone or video conference, and you will get one-on-one attention to evaluate your situation. If you're a candidate for regenerative medicine, you can get your treatment scheduled on the spot and be on your way to lasting relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in cellular-level regenerative medicine. Their treatments can restore and repair damaged joint tissue using natural growth factors, not drugs, not steroids, and definitely not surgery. You have heard about QC Kinetics for years. They have treated thousands of people here with lasting results, and now they're making this remarkable treatment even easier to get with virtual consultations. So get your schedule now by calling 864-766-8454 in Greenville and in Asheville. Fast, quick, easy, convenient. 864-766-8454. It's QC Kinetics.
Baseball is back, and Ingles Markets is a proud sponsor of the inaugural season of the Hub City Spartanburgers. Whether it's before or after the game, Ingles knocks it out of the park. Ingles, low prices, love the savings. Now, let's play ball. The real MVP? It's you, Spartanburg. Bring your cheers, your cravings, your crew to the ballpark. Hub City Spartanburg, where legends and burgers are made. Grab your tickets now at HubCitySpartanburgers.com.
Ready to hit the greens without breaking the bank? Get the Upstate Golf Cart. Just $50 for rounds at 6 top courses in the Upstate. Play to Preserve and Verde, Greer Golf, The Rock, Pebble Creek, Rolling Green, and Carolina Springs. All for one low price. That's a lot of golf for just $50. Grab your card now at UpstateGolfCard.com before it's too late and you're stuck at home with the honeydews. UpstateGolfCard.com. 6 courses, 1 card, unlimited fun.
There's nothing like when you get that part from Edo and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you can find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Do.
They just shaved off the mustache live on the air. Good for them.
I saw that.
That mustache was so annoying.
I wonder why? What was the gimmick?
Wouldn't let you anywhere near me with a razor or scissors.
Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois. WORD Spartanburg.
WCHD Tweedledum, the official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Odyssey Sports Station.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents me to win.
Is the Rob Brown Show.
Can you dig it?
Here we go. The Rob Brown Show back on the radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
America.
Rob Brown, the Great Alonzo, and you rolling through 4 hours of game day Friday. We have got college football last night, college football tonight, college football all damn day tomorrow, and then some on Sunday, and then some on Monday. Yeah. We're having a good time, kids. Having a good time. So let's get a couple of texts in here. I have asked you the question this morning. What is the most important thing that you think we will learn this weekend in week 1? What is the biggest takeaway that when we all come back here on Tuesday, as we are off Monday for Labor Day, what do you think is the most important thing we will know and discuss on Monday? I've thrown a few out there. Now, obviously, that these things can change throughout the course of the year, but for Clemson, can you run the football? Can you run the football? Big question. For South Carolina, are you a team that will, from the jump, be in the eyeballs and in the minds of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, or are you a team that will have to earn your way into the thought process of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee? I do think you have to go 5-0 to start. But we got asked earlier in the show, in the chat by Joel, do the Gamecocks need to throw the playbook and hang 40 and put everything on the line? Or is it enough to do enough to win? Joel, I have stood on for 2 weeks now. I honestly think you go out there, and if it requires it, I think you show everything right out of the gate. If it requires it to dominate this game, then throw it all out there. I understand that you may want to keep some stuff in reserve for that second half of the season when 6 out of your 7 games to end the season are against top 20 teams. But that first 5 to me is every bit as important, because if you end up going 5-0 to start, then you can go 5-2 in that back 7. And I think, I will not say guarantee yourself a playoff spot, but I think you'll be as close to guaranteed as anybody who does not win the conference. And let's keep it a bucket. 10-2. 10-2 theoretically could get you in the SEC title game. I don't think it will, but it theoretically could. But even if it doesn't, I think 10-2 gets you a playoff spot. So if you go 5-0, you can go 5-2 down the stretch and get there. I even think, and this has been something, Joel, that I've been riding for a while now. I even think because of how difficult the schedule is for the Gamecocks this year, I think 9-3 might, capital, bold, italicized, might be good enough to get you into the playoffs with the resume that you go 9-3 against. I think you'll need a little bit of help. But I think if there was a team in the 12-team playoff bracket that was going to go 9-3 and get in, I think it's this year's South Carolina Gamecock football team. Which means that if you go 5-0 out of the gate to start, you could go 4-3 in the back half of the season, unless you stack 3 losses back to back to end the run. I think you could theoretically go 4-3 and still have a not great, but decent shot at making the field. But I also think whether you are 10-2 or, more importantly, if you are 9-3, you have got to do a good enough job in your wins that if you end up getting the 9-3 record, but even if you get the 10-2 and there's a stack of bubble teams around 10-2, you need the committee to look at you and go, yeah, they lost 2 or they lost 3, but they went up against one of the most difficult schedules in football, and they still came out and they waxed the teams they were supposed to beat. That's why I think it is there. That's why I think it's important you put it on. All right, real quick, I want to give you some of my best bets, picks, predictions, prognostications. Real quick, let me finish up the text line. I'll come to clock in and lock in here in just a minute.
By the way, we got a response from Cole Bryson from our wellness check earlier, and it was a thumbs down.
Okay, all right.
Which means he's probably not doing well. So on behalf of the show, I said we're going to send him a fruit basket and a green bean casserole. So, I mean, that's probably going to make him feel better, I would think.
Green bean casserole, like, it's got to be done the right way. Somebody screws that up, it's screwed up.
Well, it's just a kind
you do it right, it's soul food.
You know, you bring it to console someone.
Yeah.
It'll have a towel over it, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Aluminum foil over a glass baking dish.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Classic. Texas said Diesel and Cole believe South Carolina can finish 7-5 and are overrated, but I guess they are biased and need to be fired. Get it together, Lonzo. That's from Dewey. Dewey text. You catch the Dewey hate this morning, not me. That feels good.
No,
that feels nice.
No, he's. I think he's wanting me to fire them.
No, he said get it together.
No.
Lonzo.
That's you in the context of the text.
Yeah.
Dewey.
I guess
I should.
Diesel and Cole believe SC could finish 7-5 and are overrated, but I guess they are biased and need to be fired. Get it together, Lonzo. I think what he's saying is Matt Moscona saying South Carolina is a 7-5 football team, and you said he is biased and should be fired. He is saying Cole and Diesel said the same thing, so you're saying they are biased and should be fired because they had the same thought.
Yeah, but supposedly the only unbiased person on this station is you. Supposedly.
No, not supposedly.
Listen,
definitively.
Listen, I can point out some times when you're definitely biased.
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty good at this.
You can say no wrong against Becky Lynch or against Rhea Ripley.
What if that's not bias? That's just a good take.
No, that's bias.
How is that bias?
That's bias.
That's not bias.
So even when they do wrong, you will defend them. So that's bias.
What have they done
what
wrong?
Bias means.
The only things that you say you've done wrong are things you subjectively think that they've done wrong.
I just pointed out that you do have bias.
No, you pointed out that I disagree with your take. That's not bias. That's just we have subjective opinion.
Okay, I disagree with what Moscano's
Correct,
take.
but that
I
doesn't make it
disagree with-
biased.
I disagree. I disagree with all those. You're right. My
Any-
take's not biased.
No, not
Thank
yours.
you.
His.
Thank you.
His. Yours is absolutely biased. You acknowledge it all the time.
Yeah, because I think this unbiased stuff is just a line, and no one believes it. I'm not even sure the people who utter it, including yourself, believe that you're unbiased because you're absolutely biased. You cannot go through the day as a human being and not be biased towards something.
No, I can't go through the day, but I can go through my 4 hours in the morning. And
No
do
way.
it. I'm very good at
no
this.
way. You're biased.
I'm doing it for years.
You are biased.
Texter says, bye-bye Beamer if the Gamecocks are 7-5. I don't think bye-bye Beamer, Texter, but I do think the goodwill would be gone. I do think the goodwill would be gone for Shane Beamer. I think the feel-good vibes around Shane Beamer, if they go 7-5 this year, would be gone. I think that the welcome home, we're going to put on funny glasses and dance stuff. I said this yesterday on a podcast that I was guesting on. I said, any coach can be successful with any attitude. We were talking about Brian Kelly and how Brian Kelly is kind of notoriously a b-hole most of the time. And I pointed out that the level of that you have to be in order to see that there is a documentary crew following you around, filming everything that you do and say. And that documentary crew, when they are done, is going to edit that footage and place it onto the most visible streaming platform in the United States of America, a streaming platform that potential future transfers and recruits are going to be watching. To know that documentary crew is following you around and has the power to shape public image about you moving forward, to have that be a reality in your face for weeks and still come across as kind of a booty cheek, you got to be pretty impressive at being a jerk to make that happen. And Brian Kelly pulled that off. Here's the thing. Nick Saban was no different. You know what the difference was? He stacked natties. Shane Beamer is kind of the opposite. You can be any personality you want to be, positive, negative, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, provided it is successful at being successful. I think Gamecock fans right now are willing to say Shane Beamer has been successful in terms of an upward trajectory of growth. But the expectations are higher this year than they've ever been before, even with the tough schedule. So if Shane doesn't meet those expectations, I think the goodwill, the positive vibes go away. And next year you go, dude, expectations or you got to go.
You're undefeated till you're not. And the experts who say that they're going to go 7-5 have just as much chance to be wrong as the people who say they're going to be 9-3. Look at Boise State. I mean, all the hype behind that, especially on this show. It's a thing. It definitely was a thing. You can act like it wasn't a thing, but the Matt Rule hype for Nebraska also there. And we saw what happened last night. They barely got by Cincinnati.
Well, I mean, as we know,
all this is proof that preseason polls are pointless, worthless, and don't mean a thing except for probably the top 5.
Okay.
Occasionally the top 5 teams, they get it wrong, but for the most part, that's basically all they get right.
Now, since you are once again misconstruing what I said, go ahead and explain to the people, since the Boise State hype was real, go ahead and explain to people what my take was on Boise State yesterday.
Hey, did you know that Tony's on the phone right now?
That's cool. Tony, hang out 2 seconds.
You don't want to leave Tony
I'm
hanging?
not going to. I'll go a minute here. Tell the people what my take was about Boise State.
I don't listen to this show. Tony's on the phone.
The take was, I think you're all about to learn how important Ashton Jeanty was to that team last year. I think you're all about to learn.
You said that?
Yes.
You actually said that?
Yes. 17,000 times.
I don't know. I think I would have heard that.
The take was, you're all about to find out how important Ashton Jeanty was. And guess what happened last night? You all found out how important Ashton Jeanty was last year because they got rolled.
That sounds like a hot take.
They got rolled. That wasn't a hot take. That was an
a hot
absolute
take.
accurate take. Tony! Let's get Tony up in here. We got Adam Epstein from 610 up in Richmond, Virginia, talking Gamecocks Hokies next. Let's get Tony in here before the break. Tony, what up, big dog?
Hey, guys, you are about to drive me crazy with the biased, unbiased, and Lonzo, I did know your name the other day. I was just in the moment. Obviously, when you're in the moment, you kind of forget. I listen to you guys every day, and it's a great show. But about the Gamecocks, Rob, I couldn't agree more that I think, obviously, you can't have a bad loss. You just can't have a bad loss. You got to go 5-0. And definitely, I think a 10-2 SEC team gets in the playoffs. And you're right again. I think very possibly with the right win or two on the back half of that schedule and playing good, close, clean games, a 9-3 team could possibly reach into that playoff pool. So I just want to echo what that gentleman was saying, that I think he's completely wrong. And, of course, we're here in South Carolina, and he's not. He called them the most overrated team in college football. I think that's asinine. But it is a tough schedule on the back half. And we won't know until we know, like Lonzo said. You're undefeated till you're not. And you just no bad loss. You got to play them last 7 games. I say 5-2 gets you in. I mean 10-2 gets you in. I really believe that. And possibly 9-3 with the right wins down the schedule. And no consecutive losses. And yes, you're right. South Carolina has a lot of expectations. Shane Beamer's not going anywhere. He's signing 5-star recruits. He's getting guys in the portal. The expectations are going up. And all we've heard is, I think David Pollock the other day is like, you go in the Willie B, as you called it, it's bad. It's sick, I think he said.
He said it's stupid, and I love it.
David Pollock, who might have played his best college game in Willie B, with that touchdown, that he sacked the quarterback and somehow ended up with the ball in the end zone, and it was a touchdown.
Yeah, that was a haunting thing. I still remember that when I think of David Pollock. That's who I think. That's the play I think of.
Yeah,
and it's like, how did he do that? Oh, I wish he hadn't done that, but he did.
Yeah, exactly. So again, Alonzo, I love you. I know your name. If my brain went blank that day. But
all
again,
good. Tony, we got a jet, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate you checking in. We're going to circle back around to this.
Don't sweat it, Tony. Rob forgets my name every day. So it's not. It's
yeah, but
not
usually mine's rage induced. We got to take a break. When we come back, Adam Epstein covers the Virginia Tech Hokies up in Richmond, Virginia. And when we come back, we will find out the Hokie perspective on what this game on Sunday looks like. 910 The Fan's Adam Epstein up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. No, James, Boise State is not making the playoffs this year. Called that shot. Kane, there are a lot of people who feel that is true as well. Stay right there, guys. We're going to get Adam on the line, and then we're back. Still don't go nowhere. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM, Greenville, South Carolina, 97.1 FM, Spartanburg, South Carolina, and all around the world for free on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Grab it, put it on all of your digital devices. Today on the show, setting up for a big college football weekend, the first college football weekend, and we are doing so by going behind enemy lines, welcoming in now an award-winning show host. I know it must feel nice. Adam Epstein, broadcast on 910 The Fan, 106.7 The Fan in Richmond, Virginia. Kind enough to join us here on the show to talk a little Hokies and Gamecocks. Adam, my guy, happy football weekend, brother. Great to have you on the show, man.
Happy football season to you. I have been waiting for this. Here we go. It's finally here. Week 0, a little taste. Now the real action begins.
Finally. Let's get to this game, man. And I always like to just go kind of open-ended out of the gate. Adam, I always like to say 36,000-foot view, just the 2-3 most important things to you as the Hokies and Gamecocks get set to get it on Sunday in Atlanta, Georgia.
This is going to be a massive game. This is a massive game, and South Carolina should be favored. South Carolina has had a great program under Shane Beamer, and the Virginia Tech Hokies are going to feel like they should have hired Shane Beamer. A lot of the fan base feels like they messed that one up, and this is now a crucial year for Coach Brent Pry, and he's got to get off to a good start. The Hokies have got to get off to a good start. Not just this game, but the first 4 games of the season have held them back since Coach Pry took over for Coach Fuentes. So it's all about getting off to a good start. Now, the problem is first 2 opponents are SEC opponents and pretty darn good ones. South Carolina game 1, Vanderbilt game 2, who beat them with Diego Pavia last year. So for this game, it's going to be all about the Hokies getting off to a fast start. They have played from behind often under Pry. They've been pretty good at making halftime adjustments, but have been trying to come from behind too often. That's going to be number 1. Number 2, both teams are going to try to establish the run, I think. The Hokies are going to lean on that probably more than South Carolina, I think. I mean, because drones will run. The quarterback drones will run probably 10 to 12 times. They're going to try to establish the run. They want this to probably be a lower scoring game that they can try to steal it late.
So there is, to me, Adam, a parallel between these two teams. I have said a number of times, I think it's massively important for South Carolina to get out to a great start. This is a team under Shane Beamer with playoff expectations, but in order to get there, especially with maybe the most difficult back 7-game stretch of anybody in America, I think not only do they have to go 5-0 out of the gate, but they've got to have impressive wins. But I think Virginia Tech's kind of in the same boat for Pry specifically, who I think is kind of maybe consensus, the coach on the hottest hot seat in the ACC. They're kind of in that same boat. What does it look like with two teams who maybe for different reasons, South Carolina trying to elevate the playoff team, Virginia Tech trying not to drop down to the bottom spots in the ACC. What does it look like with two teams on Sunday that both have, it is very important to both to get a week 1 win?
Yeah, I'm very interested. I think it might come down to which defense steps up. For the Hokies, they lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball, specifically on the defensive line. Multiple guys went to the NFL, but they feel like that's still a strength. Copeland, Gillian are the leaders on the defensive line, and then they lost Spatial Tootin, the running back, to the NFL as well. So they're going to replace him with like a committee of guys that will get touches, especially here in week 1. So I think it's going to come down to, can the Hokies defense get stops, get the ball back into the offense's hands, and then they're going to have to be able to run the ball. That's going to be hard to do against South Carolina, but that has got to be the goal. They're going to run it, and you're going to see them. It's going to come down to situations, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5 situations. Can they run on those longer third downs? Because that's what they're going to want to do to establish the game and keep it close here. But look, this would be a massive upset if the Hokies get the win. I'm not picking the Hokies. I'm not thinking they're going to get the win here. This would be a massive upset if they can get the win because of how great South Carolina's program has been trending up and the Hokies have been trending down recently.
Let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of the football for Virginia Tech. Obviously, if South Carolina is going to be a playoff team, if they're going to be in contention at the end of the year, Adam, I have said a number of times, they're going to go as far as Lenora Sellers can take them. This is a kid who's got short odds to win the Heisman Trophy. How does Virginia Tech contain Lenora Sellers, not let him get out to a fast start and build a lead that the Hokies can't run because they've got to play from behind? What is the play there?
It's all about the defensive line causing havoc, pressure in the backfield, on the quarterback, early and often. I think back to the Miami Virginia Tech game last year. Cam Ward ends up being the number 1 overall pick, was terrific throughout the entire season. The Hokies had him stifled in the first half. They were in his face the entire game, and he was making some plays, making guys miss out of the pocket and scrambling around. But for the most part, the Hokies had him contained. In the second half, that changed, and the containment was not there anymore, and all of a sudden you had big explosive play after explosive plays. And so it's going to be all about getting after him early and trying to mess him up a little, but get into his mind, get into the game plan of South Carolina, because if you can make him move off of his spot, then all of a sudden you've got to change things. So I think that's the Hokies' game plan defensively. I don't know that they're going to send a ton of pressure. I think it's just going to be the front four that they're going to trust can beat their men.
Adam Epstein, 910 The Fan in Richmond, Virginia, behind enemy lines, talking Hokies Gamecocks here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate for a handful more minutes. For the offense, you mentioned just a few minutes ago, Kyron Drones, who is going to be a running quarterback. There is not much returning for the Hokies in the way of running backs or wide receivers this year. In fact, really not much returning in the way of starters at all. So how fresh, how different will this offense look from last year? South Carolina lost a ton of talent, more NFL draft picks than they've ever had before in school history. That's a problem. On the other hand, they've done a good job of developing guys that have been relative unknowns until they got their start in South Carolina, or their opportunity to start for South Carolina. On the offensive perspective, will there be a different look from the Hokie offense this year? And give me a dude or two that South Carolina fans should be keeping an eye on that could be impactful against the Gamecock defense Sunday.
Yeah, so they lost Jalen Lane to the Washington Commanders, who I cover. I'm excited for him. He was a punt returner, but also an awesome wide receiver in the slot. They're going to have to replace him, hopefully, with Aiden Green. They've got a few other replacement transfer wide receivers that are interesting. I'm going to point to tight end Benji Gosnell. Gosnell is the name to keep your eye on if you're a Gamecocks fan here. Look, Drones will try to run often. When he passes, I think he's going to target the tight end, or it's going to be quick screen passes, bubble quick hits. He does not like to hold on to the ball very long. They want to hike it, release it, or have him run it himself. So in those longer developing plays, watch him target the tight end, Benji Gosnell. I think there's going to be multiple backs. I was told Marcellus Hawkins might get the first touch in the backfield. Then it'll be Stewart. It's multiple guys that have transferred up a level, which is the only nice story it feels like you ever hear about the transfer portal, is these guys that go up and get an opportunity in a bigger conference. So I think that's exciting, because both of the running backs that the Hokies brought in, I think we're close to 1,000-yard backs in their previous schools. So they've got running back by committee to replace Tootin, and then just a couple of receivers on the outside. Green is the guy that I like, and then Benji Gosnell, the tight end.
Talk to me a little bit about the importance of this game. Obviously, it's in Atlanta, so I do think it is going to be probably a Gamecock home field advantage, a little bit closer to Columbia, a little less to travel, probably a slightly larger fan base overall. But if Virginia Tech knows that going in, what is the mindset of this football team? We've talked about how important it is for Brent Pry to get a win out of the gate, but for a football team that is young, that does not have a ton of returning experience, to be able to get a hot start to the season, knowing, as you mentioned, Vanderbilt is up next, a team that beat Alabama last year. You got NC State, Wake, and Georgia Tech, all three with higher aspirations than normal this year. What would it mean for Virginia Tech to pull an upset over South Carolina on Sunday?
It would be massive. I mean, this would absolutely set them up for success this season. We've been talking about the first four games. They have to go 3-1. I'm not assuming they're going to win this one. So then they have to beat Wofford. They have to beat Vanderbilt. They have to beat Old Dominion, I believe is the third one after that. So they've got to go 3-1 the first 4 games. And if they can't win this one, you got to go undefeated before you get into the conference play and start going up against ACC opponents. Every Hokie that I've talked to at ACC kickoff in Charlotte, North Carolina, I sat down with Coach Pry. I sat down with quarterback Kyron Drones. I sat down with 2 of the defensive specialists. They all pointed to the new strength and conditioning coach. I'm like, what? Are you serious? You're talking about you're lifting more weights is going to help you win? They all believe that in the fourth quarter last year, they ran out of gas. And you can see it in the Vanderbilt game, in the Miami game, in the Clemson game, in half the games from last year. They just simply ran out of gas. And so, yeah, they do believe that their new strength and conditioning coach who's been working their ass off all summer is going to make a difference. They just want it to be close to the fourth quarter because they feel like they are in better shape now than their opponents.
That is interesting. I'm interested to see how that plays out. We've got Adam Epstein from 910 The Fan in Richmond, Virginia. Adam, last one, we'll let you go. Just your prediction, prognostication, projection for Sunday when the Gamecocks and the Hokies throw down in the ATL.
Man, it's going to be a ton of fun. I know Frank Beamer's going to be in the building in attendance. Look, I know the storyline already on my show on Monday are going to be Kohler's upset. Why didn't we hire Shane Beamer? That's where I think is going to be the entire conversation on Monday. So I'm expecting the Gamecocks to get the win. I'll say 24-17. I'm kind of hoping for a moral victory here, to be honest with you, that they can keep it close. That the offense doesn't look horrible, the defense doesn't give up too many big plays, and no special teams disasters. The Hokies have been a team, and you know this probably under Shane Beamer with South Carolina. The Beamers are awesome at special teams. It has not been the same since they left at Virginia Tech. So I'm hoping there's no special teams disaster.
Adam Epstein is a host on 910 The Fan in Richmond, Virginia. Kind enough to join us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Adam, my guy, great to have you on, buddy. Enjoy the conversation. Good luck this Sunday, and let's do it again one day, man.
Let's go, man. Thanks so much. Kicks off. Let's go.
You got it. Done and done. Thank you very much. Adam Epstein, 910 The Fan in Richmond, Virginia. When we come back, we switch it for just a moment. From college to the pros, Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. We'll talk about the cuts, the surprises, the Adam Thielen trade, Hunter Renfrow, and more when we come back at 9 o'clock. Kevin and Jarrell from Moving the Chains. And then from 9:20 to the end of the show, it's all you talking college football on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. What's up, fella?
What's going on?
Doing, brother?
Good. All is well.
I'm glad to hear it. Made it through cut day.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get a chance to do the live stream.
I was gonna say I didn't get the push
that was
notification that you got on.
Yeah. I had to go into work, so I didn't get a chance to go.
Don't they know who the hell you are?
I know, man. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that works out real well for Rob when he tells them.
All
"You know who
your
I
job
am?"
did was let down every Panther fan everywhere. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of a lot of guys the previous day anyway, so it was pretty anticlimactic. So it's all good. It worked out.
All right, we're just gonna hit the big stuff.
Yep. Yeah, wherever you want to go.
Can you dig it?
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate, 6 till 10 a.m. every weekday. Let's get to it. It is 8:41 in the a.m. and every Thursday at this time we take a trip right up the road to Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome in a young man who is the host of the Panther Nation podcast, which you can follow on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, make sure that you head on over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button on the Panther Nation podcast. If you're a Panthers fan, there's nowhere you need to go before you go to the Panther Nation podcast. My guy, Rashad Beard, back in the building. What's up, fella? We made it through cut day. How we feeling?
Yeah, we feel good. I feel good about the cuts, the moves, all the moves that were made. Yeah, we're heading in the right direction. Week 1 is upon us, man. Let's get it.
All right, with the exception of the Adam Thielen trade, because we're going to talk about that coming up here in just a minute. Biggest surprise, shock, disappointment, sneaky good call, unfortunate bad call. Your 1, 2, 3 biggest takeaways from cut day.
Yeah, I think that it was pretty. I mean, it's pretty chalk. I got to be honest with you. And I said this on X. This seems like one of the more pretty anticlimactic cut days. Like there were no real surprises for me. I mean, everything was pretty much predictable for the most part. I think the biggest surprise is going to be Hunter Renfrow. I know we'll talk about him a little bit later, but that's the biggest surprise. I didn't think they would. As much buildup as there was regarding him and how he looked this training camp, I didn't think that they would let him go, especially considering what happened with Adam Thielen, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. I thought they would kind of keep him around, but everything else was cut and dry. I think my biggest concern going into the season, though, is going to be the linebacker position. I don't feel good about it, just to be honest. Interior linebacker position, to be specific. Don't feel good about that at all. A little light there. I thought we could have added some guys, maybe Chris Paul Jr. that was released from the Rams. I thought he's a young, talented kid. I thought we would pick up on waivers. Did not do that. Outside of that, I do like Corey Thornton. Corey Thornton is the undrafted cornerback out of he's an undrafted free agent that made the team. Cornerback, and I think that he's a pleasant surprise. Very pleasant surprise considering that cornerback room was a bit sketchy coming into the season. So cornerback's good. I like where we start. Stan, I really do.
So as far as depth after the cuts, is there any position that you look at and go, we still need, like specifically more than others, we need to add there? We still need to be looking for some guys. I know Dave Canales in his press conference earlier this week was saying we're not done. Like there's still conversation. There still could be moves that get made. Is there any one position that after cut day you went, we're a little too thin at that spot?
Yeah, it's clearly linebacker. It is clearly like interior linebacker. Right now, Christian Roseboom. I like Trevin Wallace and the potential that's there, but if it goes past that, it is not good. Sherlis and Bam Martin Scott, those guys don't. I'm just not confident about it. Everything else, is okay. Defensively, those guys got to step it up. But Derrick Brown, getting him back is going to be huge. I think it's going to be a big boost for the defense across the board. But we can complain about the interior and of the offensive line. It was bad. The defensive line was bad last year. But if your linebackers can't cover the gaps, then it's going to be ugly once again. So I'm really concerned about interior linebacker for sure. I don't know if they're going to try to get Josie Jewell to come back, but we need something. Something needs to give at interior linebacker.
Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, let's get to it. Let's go with the Adam Thielen trade. And I want to get there because, or before we get to Hunter Renfrow, because obviously that's kind of a play into that. Thielen gets traded. I kind of thought that was a little bit of smoke up front. I thought it was just people going, oh, we love a good story and how cool would it be to get him back in Minnesota, especially considering there are some folks who believe the Vikings are good enough to make a run with J.J. McCarthy. We'll find out. But your take on that trade, I said earlier in the week, I'm okay with it if the compensation is good enough. There's two things you got back. Effectively, you got a 4th-round pick back, and you got I don't want to say a bunch, but you got a pretty good chunk of money back to the salary cap for next year. Maybe that puts you in the race for a Trey Hendrickson. Maybe if the Bengals implode, that puts you in the race for a T. Higgins, whoever. My question is for you, Rashad Beard, and then just your thoughts on the trade overall. Is the value you got back for Adam Thielen in the form of the pick and the form of your cap being built back up for next year, is that more valuable to this team than Adam Thielen being the security blanket that he has been for Bryce Young for 2 years in what I think is a very pivotal year for Bryce Young?
Yeah, it's loaded, right? And we're going to find out. We're going to find out for sure. Well, I'll start with the compensation. The compensation for me is great. I thought to be able to get a 5th-round pick in 2026 and a 4th-round pick in 2027 is fantastic for a guy that is going to be on an expiring contract. He's probably going to retire. This is last year. I think it's well played. And I said this on my show, is that the Panthers haven't been able to work from a position of strength and leverage in a long time, right? We had an excess of talent at wide. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Like, I really can't believe I'm actually saying those words. We had an excess of talent at wide receiver position, right? So Adam Thielen being an aging guy, and again, I understand him being a security blanket for Bryce Young is great. But at the same time, when you have guys like Jalen Coker, you just drafted a guy like T-Mac. You've got a rising XL. You've got Jimmy Horn Jr. These guys are ready to step up. And I feel like now is the time for those guys to step up. There's an opportunity at hand. Jalen Coker specifically, we talked about him last year and how he looked, and he was great when Adam Thielen went down last year. And so he stepped right in, and he was fantastic. So we need more of that. So I think it speaks to the depth that we have at wide receiver and the ability to let him go and get some compensation, which I thought was more than fair for a guy that's on an expiring contract. So I thought it was well worth it. And again, those guys got to step up. They're going to show improve, but I like the deal across the board.
All right. So then let's look at what was, I think, maybe even to some degree more shocking to a lot of people, which was Thielen getting traded and not Hunter Renfrow being added back to the roster 17 seconds later. Canales at the press conference was asked about it. And I think once I kind of looked back at the preseason, it became a little less shocking because of the tens of thousands of times that Dave Canales said, we're looking for special teams guys, right? Like, we got 7 wide receivers on the roster. Numbers 5, 6, and 7 are going to be expected to be special teams guys. And I don't think at this point in his career, Hunter Renfrow is a special teams addition. So maybe it shouldn't have been as shocking to people. But Rashad Beard, the dude looked good. And Canales said, we saw some peaks out of Renfrow, but we also saw some dips out of Renfrow. And that's fine. He's the head coach. He saw way more than we did. But, man, what we saw out of Hunter Renfrow looked like that cat was ready to kind of flash back to 2019 a little bit. What's your take on that whole thing with the former Clemson Tiger?
Hey man, listen, I thought the Panthers were ultimate geniuses. I thought the play to trade Adam Thielen to cut Hunter Renfrow and then bring him back after the trade, I thought it was the ultimate play. I thought, Dan Morgan, you look like a genius, right? That's what I thought was going to happen, is that we trade Adam Thielen, we're going to cut Hunter Renfrow, we're going to bring him back because obviously he doesn't have to clear waivers. We can bring him back to the practice squad for right now and then cut and bring him back onto the active roster once Adam Thielen's traded. That's what I thought the play was. But obviously, you kind of get into the conversations, and what you talked about yesterday was what Canales talked about was kind of a little eye-opening. Hey, we saw some peaks, we saw some valleys, and I'm like, hey, I mean, we saw some good stuff. I mean, we saw some miscommunications on a couple of things. That's what happens in the preseason. You know, it is what it is. But I really thought that Hunter Renfrow was going to come back. Now, again, I go back to the excess of talent that we have at wide receiver, and I think these guys are capable of doing what they need to do. I don't think we're going to miss Hunter Renfrow per se, but I think it was a great story. I thought they did a little bit of a disservice to Panther Nation, hyping him up the way they did in preseason and in training camp, and then to kind of have the letdown of him not making the roster. It is what it is, but I do like the moves. I'm not too sure about the Delvon Campbell guy who we picked up. I know he's big. He's 6'4". He's fast. Special teams guy, going to be a gunner. I don't know about that versus Hunter Renfrow, but we'll have to let it play out. And maybe Hunter Renfrow does ultimately come back to the Panthers. We don't know. The word on the street is that there are other teams vying for his services. So we'll see what happens. But what was being said all offseason that he wants to be here in Carolina, we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, that was kind of my other thought, was if Hunter Renfrow, the story went out, we've talked about this before, that when Dabo Swinney talked him into coming back, he told his agent, Carolina, like, that's where I'm either going to be there or I'm not going to play. And again, I don't know how dramatic it is. Canales said he's going to go home and talk to his family and talk to his agent and try to find out what's best for him. If it really is Carolina or nowhere else, like, great. What an asset to have a guy sitting there waiting for you that proved he can still do it, and hopefully he stays in shape. But I guess the shock to me was, even if he is a special teams contributor, you went and got another 6'4", 220-pound wide receiver that got waived by another NFL team to replace Hunter Renfrow on the roster. I'm not saying it was like nefarious or intended to be self-sabotage, Rashad, but it was just like, this doesn't track to me like I thought it did. I was with you when Thielen got traded, and I'm like, I said on the show, like, we were on the show when that news broke, and I'm like, cool, y'all, Hunter Renfrow's a Panther by tomorrow's show, he'll be back. To then just go randomly sign a guy who got waived by the Chargers was like, the hell is happening right now?
Yeah, I was thrown off. Again, I don't know. There's probably some underlying things that are happening. Maybe he's not fully healthy. Maybe he's not ready to go. We don't know. But I think he's got a process, right? Is this something he wants to, deal with the rest of the season? Is his body ready? I don't know. There's too many things that we don't know about the situation. I'm just going to trust. I think Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, they all have been pretty transparent. I don't see there's any reason for us to kind of mislead us, but we'll see what happens. I think ultimately I'm satisfied with the top. David Moore's the only one I'm like, all right, come on, man. Like, we could do better than that. But everybody else I'm satisfied with. And we'll see what happens. And again, like the chat is saying, I think the Delvon Campbell guy is a special teams ace. We'll see what happens, because you got to have the special teams guys. You need the gunners. You need to have they're critical to the squad as well.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Here's the last thought that I had, Rashad. I'll get your thoughts, and then we'll cut you loose. The takeaway I had yesterday, this is how I described it on the show. If you're a Carolina fan, I think right now the reaction, at least that I had from kind of the outside looking in, was, I'm going to hold for now the mentality of, in Dan and Dave we trust, because I don't know that there's a lot of these moves that go, I don't know about that. I don't know. It's a lot of I don't know for us. If it works out, they're going to look like absolute geniuses, and you guys are going to feel great about your future. And if it doesn't work out, you're just going to reset yourself back to where you were 2 years ago. I don't know that there's a philosophy I can hold other than, in Dan and Dave we trust. We'll see where we are in week 8.
Yeah, I mean, this is year 2, and we finally have a year 2 of growth and progress. we have to let it play out, right? We have to see some progression. I think Bryce Young has to take that next step. You talked about him losing Adam Thielen earlier. He's going to have to show improve, right? So like we need to see how it's going to play out. Ultimately, I feel good about it. There was no move that I'm like, hey, these guys don't know what they're doing. Everything seems to have some direction. So they haven't given me a reason not to trust them. So I'm going to let it play out. I'm liking the direction, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, even if you don't like the move, I think we understand why they got made. May not agree with why it got made,
right,
but we can understand why it got made. And I think that's honestly, that's a net positive. You could have Jerry Jones as your owner. You know what I mean?
We could have Jerry Jones, and that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I'm happy with where we are. Carolina Panthers, let's keep pounding, man. I think we're heading in the right direction.
Rashad Beard hosts the Panther Nation podcast. Follow them on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Not a better Panthers outlet in America. Rashad out next week. Brother, we'll talk to you when we're heading into week 2, my man. Enjoy your whatever it is you're going to do that's more important than work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I need it. But yeah, appreciate you guys, man. I'm looking forward to it. Football is back. Let's rejoice. Good times. Keep pounding.
Rashad Beard, Panther Nation podcast. We got Kevin and Jarrell from Moving the Chain joining us in the next segment. We'll set you up for the high school football weekend. Then the back 2 segments, the Armada Audio Assault. Whatever you want to talk about with college football, we do that after Lonzo gives you a sports flash. Why'd I say it like that?
I don't know. That's kind of creepy. Matt Rule's Nebraska Cornhuskers squeaked by the Cincinnati Bearcats 20-17 last night in a game that was supposed to be at a neutral site. Instead, Arrowhead was filled with corn-fed who made it a Nebraska home game. Since Brendan Sorsby drove the Bearcats to field goal range within the waning minutes of the fourth quarter, but threw a game-deciding interception that gave the victory to Nebraska. The Atlanta Braves lost to the Phillies 19-4 last night. Recently acquired Cal Quantrell took the loss in his Atlanta debut, getting replaced after 3.1 innings and 9 hits and 9 runs surrendered. That's not good, by the way. Braves pitching gave up 7 home runs, which is also not good, including 4 to Kyle Schwarber. Boise State's time in the top 25 lasted less than 1 week as the Broncos got hammered by USF 34-7 last night. Not true, Shane. For the most part, Rob wants to write the Sports Flash because he took journalism classes, and he's got to do something with those. Feel like it was money well spent. So the only story I wrote was the Nebraska story. I do have to take Rob's Brave stories and try to make them as positive as I can, because he does kind of show that bias that he says he doesn't have. And, you can tell the stories I write because they're more sarcastic. What can I say? I did not take journalism classes. As if you couldn't tell by my improper grammar most of the time. It's true, Robbie's there. I see him.
Let's get him on. boys. How we doing?
Doing well, man. Doing
What
well.
have we done right in our lives to have Jarrell join the show again? I thought he was done with us. Can't even show up for week 0, but he's here for week 1. And he can't unmute himself to talk to us.
Yeah, he's actually not going to talk. He's just going to sit there the whole show, Rob. Is that all right?
That'd be all right with us.
In week 2,
Oh,
I
my
can
bad,
get some
my
commentary. We'll see.
I'm just worried that I upset John last week, and that's why he's not here. That could be.
He deserved it, Lonzo.
I hope so.
Hey, it was a true story. He big timed me for sure.
I remember that day. I didn't realize he big timed you, but I remember being in there saying hello, and then I guess John just
and now he's not here. It's my fault.
Real shame.
Yeah, but we got Jarrell, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's a good trade.
Let's go. It's a great trade. The score last year was 30-27.
Thank God it's.
All right, I'm disappointed. So you're just not going to do it?
Oh, sorry. No, I was actually taking a note. Sorry.
Thank God it's.
All right, there we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. And it's not just any old Friday. No. It's College Football Friday. And it's not just College Football Friday for a few folks. No. It's Friday, College Football Friday for everybody. We had games last night. We got games tonight. We got games tomorrow. We got games Sunday. We got game Monday. We're off on Monday. When this show ends here in 59 minutes from right now, your boy's going to finish out the paperwork, going to make the last couple of edits, put a little audio in. Then I'm going to go home. I'm going to get myself a little siesta. And here's the beautiful part about football tonight. Boys, the wife came to me last night and she said, hey, my friend's son is playing quarterback for Wade Hampton High School. Can we go to a high school football game tomorrow night? And what did Rob Brown say? You're damn right we can, woman. You're absolutely right we can. So it's Friday night. It's high school football night. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday morning. You know what that means. That means we welcome in the fellas from the Moving the Chains podcast. And oh boy, we're stepping the game up today because yes, my boy Kevin Thomas is in the house today. But today, and I'm sorry, Kevin, you know what's happening here. Joining us for the first time this season, taking time out of his busy schedule from being a world-class celebrity. My man Jarrell Hendricks is here as well. Fellas, how the hell we doing on a Football Friday?
I'm good. I was going to let Jarrell go first, but I guess he don't want to. I don't know.
Did he mute himself again, Jarrell?
No, that's not it at all. I just,
okay.
No, I'm not muted at all. Kevin's the leader of Moving the Chain, so I always defer to him. Happy to be here. So excited to break down these games. Week 1, let's go ahead and do this thing.
I love to hear. Look, Jarrell's like, I'm not here for your niceties. I'm not here for your pleasantries. I'm not here for your small talk and chit chat. Let's talk some football. I respect it. I really do. So let's jump right in, fellas, and let's start, obviously, as we usually do, with a game that you're going to hear right here on the Fan Upstate. Cole Bryson, the voice of the Burns Rebels, as the Rebels back at the crib, the newly renovated Nixon Field, to take on Irmo. Kevin, first off, it is Irmo, right?
Correct. Yeah, Irmo. The
All
Yellow
right,
Jackets.
Y'all say some town names kind of weird around here sometimes.
Hey, it's part of being the South, man. Come on. But
okay, how would you think it was pronounced?
Irmo.
Really?
Yeah.
He's so weird sometimes.
That's a bit of a stretch there, Rob. I don't know.
It's weird how the letter I works sometimes. There's also a T in Clinton, Kevin, so don't come at me like that, bro.
Hey, it is what it is, man. It is. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. But Irmo Burns, this is one of our games of the week. This is a huge matchup here. Both teams, big wins last week. Irmo went down to Charleston, knocked off the 3A state champs, the Oceanside Collegiate Land Sharks. They are working 2 quarterbacks right now. They got a lefty, Britton Davis, a righty, Dre Dobson. Dobson threw 3 touchdowns last week. I would think he has the lead in that position, but Coach Brandon said he's going to play both guys. So look forward to seeing them both. They got 2 stud receivers, Malik Miller, Jamarian Arrington, Amir White running the football. offensive lineman Nate Carson's a 2027 prospect that everybody wants. They've got one of the best defensive fronts in the state, Rob. We got Major Taylor, a big-time commit this year, and then Jaden Bryant, a 4-star for 2027, getting offers from all across the country. They are a problem up front. Burns destroyed T.L. Hanna. Quarterback Kane Rogers did a solid job there. Both running backs, Trey Segura, Jacoby Fuller, both found the end zone. Chew Harris caught a long touchdown pass to defense with Justice Hopkins. Cole Searfalls, Tyler Clark, and those guys look really good against that that run attack from T.L. Hanna. This week is completely different. Dermo's going to throw the ball a little bit. Can Burns stop the pass? We shall see. I think that Nixon Field home crowd there is too much. I think the Rebels moved to 2-0, but this is a heck of a ball game here. Lots of athletes on both sides of the field.
I mean, I got to ask you to give me a projection on this one, pal.
Let me go Burns close. I think Segura makes just enough, big runs. But I think the key is Kane Rogers. Can Kane Rogers make just enough throws down the stretch to win this ball game?
I saw that kid play the last year that I was calling Burns games. I saw him get in for a couple of snaps in some garbage time games here and there, and felt like at the time, if this kid can clean up the mechanics just a little bit, he sees the field well. The accuracy was a bit off, but I at the time, I blamed that on the mechanics. Like he just hadn't developed into what he was going to be as a passer yet. Where is he in relation to that this year?
He's getting better and better, man. He's getting more and more experience, obviously. And the key, I think, for him, Rob, is that he's got a lot of help. I mean, you got two of the best backs in the state you can just turn around and hand the ball off to. You got a deep threat like Harris, who's electric outside. I mean, it makes Kane's job a lot easier than some other QBs in the state, but he has certainly progressed playing good football right now for the Rebels.
Love to hear it. Let's get Jarrell Hendricks up in here for a minute with a breakdown on Stratford at Daniel.
Well, here's the thing. I'm coming off the bench. I missed week 1 or week 0, technically. I hate how South Carolina High School League does this. We should just go week 1. And Kevin's already in midseason form. So I got to break down this game here and try to follow that up, after he just gives this epic rundown. But this should be a fantastic game if you're over there in Pickens County. Should be a lot of fun. Stratford's coming from Charleston, coming from that Goose Creek area. A long road trip today. This game was kind of a neutral site last year. I think it was 36-52 with Daniel winning that game. The Lions, they just continue to reload. They're breaking in a new quarterback in Jace Grass this year, but they just picked up where they left off. They destroyed a really good Chapman team last week, 43-0, but they still got the weapons. Got Trey Wembley there outside. And then on the defensive side, you got PJ Chancellor, Chris Chancellor's son. So, it's just going to be a very good environment over there in Singleton Field. Going to be a good test for both of these teams. Stratford also coming off a short week. They had to play Monday due to weather. Played a really good Somerville team close. This is a Somerville team that played for the state championship in 5A last year. Played it a 5-point game, a 1-score game there. So, expect the Stratford bunch to be much improved this season. I'll give you the prediction early. I like Daniel to win this game. They don't lose at home. I think we talked about it on our show earlier this week. I think they've lost 3 home games in the last 7 or 8 years. So that's how good Daniel is. They've been really dominant, and I just expect them to continue to do so. This Daniel Lions program is one of the best in the state.
Jarrell Hendricks, you can't ask for a tune-up game when you miss game 1 because you were holding out, bud. That's not how it works. Who are you, Micah Parsons?
No, not a holdout. But I don't know why you bring that up. I told you I'm a recovering Cowboys fan. I gave that mental illness up about 5 years ago. I suggest that all the Cowboys fans that you have listening do the same thing because Jerry Jones and that family is going to continue to break your heart. You got to let that go.
Cole Bryson is not well, boys. Cole Bryson is not well at all. Kevin, let's keep this bad boy rolling. Let's jump to Fountain Inn at Woodruff.
A fantastic game last year. Woodruff, a last-second field goal, 130-27. Two teams that I'm high on. I like the offenses in this matchup. Woodruff, they've got a running back, Aiden Gibson, Rob, a 2027 guy, getting a ton of looks right now. He's actually going to be at Carolina Sunday in Atlanta for that football game. They've got a new quarterback stepping in. Connor Davis played well last week for them. couple weapons out wide. Cam Taylor, a big tight end. Corey Moats, an electric playmaker. Defensively, Sean Graybill is a stud for Coach Sloan in that group there. Fountain Inn is still an up-and-coming program. I think it's just the second year of having a senior class, so they're getting better and better for Coach Brett Nichols. Love that quarterback, Sam Holiday. This is his, I believe, third year starting them, I think it is actually now. He's a really good playmaker for them. They got some weapons around him as well. They're getting better and better. I think Fountain Inn's got a real chance to go win this football game. The fact that it's at Woodruff, I'm going to lean the Wolverines. But I think it should be a good matchup tonight over in Spartanburg County.
I like it. All right, fellas, let's speed run through some of the other games taking place around the area today. I will start with that game I mentioned earlier. I don't know if you have anything on it. Wade Hampton dropped one to TR last week, 13-10, up against Blue Ridge today. Like I said, the wife wants to go. I want to go in there and sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. Help me out.
I'll defer to Kevin. He actually broke this down during our show.
We'll do it. Yeah, Blue Ridge has got a really good playmaker. A.J. Lindsey had a big game for them last week. He's the guy to watch on that side. On the Wade Hampton side, you mentioned freshman quarterback Parker McCrory played really well last year. Last week. He's going to get better and better as the season goes along. I think Blue Ridge probably a few too many playmakers in this ball game, but should be a tight matchup tonight.
Love to hear it. All right, let's roll on with a few more. Let's go JL Man at Gaffney. Good take. I like it. All right.
I guess Gaffney.
Drill, you take this one. Yeah.
Okay, Jailman Gaffney. This one could get a little bit ugly here. Jailman really took one on the chin to Midland Valley. Had to play that game on Saturday due to weather. Gaffney's coming off a heartbreaking loss to Independence out of Charlotte, one of the premier programs nationwide. I think Gaffney's going to be, pretty upset about the loss last week. They're going to get right. Jailman may be in for a tough season. It's going to be a cool story, though. Got Bryce Smiley, the head coach there at Man, has a little bit of a homecoming as he played there, won a state title there. We talked to him this offseason, but I think the Indians roll in this one.
Easley at Wren.
Two teams looked really good last week, Rob. Easily destroyed what I thought was a solid Pickens team. Wren looked the part. Coach Freight's really high on that bunch this year. I think there should be a pretty good football game here. I like Wren by a little bit at home, but two up-and-coming programs, it feels like.
That Wren team is always interesting to me because you go there, and I got a lot of respect for it because, it's a stadium that's like straight out of a 1980s, underdog football team that's just trying to make it, having to do car washes. That team hits, boy. Like, that team likes to go play some old school football.
The defense is really good this year. That's going to be their calling card for sure. They got some new pieces on offense. They're slowly breaking in, but the defense is going to keep them in a lot of football games until later on when those guys do catch up. So I think that Hurricane team could be in for a deep run in 4A.
All right, let's speed run a couple more. Let's go Boiling Springs at Malden.
Boiling Springs, these are two teams. Malden is a team that's kind of under Coach Cook. I think this is his third year going in there. They're doing some good things, trying to develop that program. And then Boiling Springs, it's kind of a rebuild. Had a good win last week against Greer. Could be an interesting matchup there. I really think this should be a lot of fun to watch.
Dorman at the Crib taking on Catawba Ridge.
Catawba Ridge out of the Fort Mill area has the best player in the state. He's a top 5 national guy for 2027, cornerback Joshua Dobson. If you want to go see some talent, go check him out. Dorman, a huge win last week over Greenville, a Greenville program that's a little bit down this year. Nick Means had 150+, 3 touchdowns rushing. This is a matchup of two teams I think are pretty good, but we're not really sure how good yet. Two teams that could make some noise in the playoffs, but I've got a feeling that Dorman is pretty good this year, and I think the Cavs win at home.
Jarrell Hendricks, we have got a handful more with about 3 minutes left to play in the game. What's your favorite game we have not gotten to yet, and your thoughts on it?
Favorite game so far, probably be Buford Greenwood. I like this story. Got Bryce Libren coming up. He's the head coach of the Buford Eagles. There is a Greenwood alum. There's been a lot of rumors of him kind of being that coach in waiting there. So we'll see if that actually happens. Buford's kind of been down the last couple of years since they won a state title against a really good Powdersville team a few years back. And this Greenwood team, I really love Tristan Lewis, one of my favorite players in this 26 class. He plays quarterback right now. He's a South Carolina commit. He's probably going to play DB for them. Probably going to be a Nick Eamon type transition there for Coach Beamer's squad in the future. But I think that's an intriguing matchup. Going to be good down there in the back. I think Greenwood's going to win this game comfortably, but I do like the storylines, and I think it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Kevin Thomas, same for you. Game we haven't gotten to yet that you're most interested in.
Powdersville at Abbeville. I mean, these have been absolute thrillers the last couple of years. Two teams in different classes, but have made a nice little rivalry out of these games. Abbeville's got a couple studs offensively with the Baylor brothers there. They're always good, always a contender, and probably a favorite to win 1A. Powdersville scored some points last week, but also gave up a lot of points to Seneca. Surprise there. They've got a big quarterback, Keegan Reed, for Coach Mustard, that can really get it done there. Tavius Williams is a weapon out wide and on defense for them. Powdersville Abbeville should be a fantastic ball game down there at Hyatt Stadium in A-Town.
Love to hear it. Kevin Thomas, Jarrell Hendricks, 2/3 of the Moving the Chains podcast. You can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/Moving Chains. No G. Same on Twitter and Instagram, and the podcast available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever your major podcasts are found. Fellas, where are y'all going to be at tonight? What's the play?
Looking ahead to the new Nixon Field, Rob. Checking it out tonight. Irmo Burns should be a great matchup.
I like it. I'll be over at Wade Hampton watching the Generals play. Jarrell Hendricks, you son of a gun. Good to have you back on the radio show, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate you and Lonzo welcoming me back. It felt so good. You know, I stepped out this morning, nice chill in the air, but it felt good to jump in the studio. It's fall. It's time. We got high school football tonight, college starting. We're going to be full blown with NFL next week. I'm just excited for it, guys.
You're excited about the NFL?
Yeah, I am.
Did you hear
I
that?
told you I let the Cowboys go.
Jarrell's got a little bit of a delay. He's got a little bit of a delay, and you're taking advantage of the delay to make it look like he's hesitating to talk, and it's not true.
No, I'm saying I heard the deep sigh. Jarrell, listen, I appreciate you saying you've let the Cowboys go. It's kind of like one of those diseases we don't talk about in public. Like maybe it goes away for a few months because you got the right cream to put on it, but it's always with you, buddy.
They can't hurt me anymore. I'm a Triplets Cowboys fan. These new brand cannot hurt me anymore. I have moved on. It's all about fantasy for me.
Kevin Thomas, you legend. Good to talk to you, brother. Let's do it again next week, big dog.
Looking forward to it, Rob. I appreciate you, buddy.
Kevin Thomas, Jarrell Hendricks, Moving the Chains. Again, find them on Facebook, Moving Chains No G. Same with Twitter, X, and Instagram. And the podcast available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. When we come back, I asked the question earlier. I'll ask it again. What is the thing we need to know by the time we end Week 1 in college football? For South Carolina, for Clemson, for Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, anybody you want to talk about. What's the biggest lesson, takeaway you're looking for in Week 1? We'll address that next on The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Nice job, fellas.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you as always.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, at my dad's house, internet's not the best.
I was gonna say it sounds like Jarrell's getting his Wi-Fi off of a baked potato.
You are so mean. What are you doing, man?
It's out of love. Jarrell knows that.
It happens.
It's all
I'm
out of
not
love.
home. Oh, of course.
Boys, enjoy the football tonight. We'll talk to y'all next week, guys.
See you, buddy.
Later, guys.
You enjoy that barn burner at Wade Hampton.
Oh, I'm going to. See you, brother. Oh, the boys. Love the boys. All right, guys, stay right there. I'll come back, respond to all your texts next. Don't go anywhere. Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. What a day.
Hey Rob, are we
Hey,
going to do
Lonzo.
predictions? Because I don't know that you mentioned that we're going to give our scores for,
We
for
sure
this weekend.
are, as a matter of fact. Coming up in the next segment of the show, we are going to run through the college football Friday and Saturday, the biggest games on the slate, and give our predictions. I'll give you some of my best bets for the weekend and more. Want to thank Matt Moscano for coming on. Matt Moscano coming on the show earlier from ESPN Baton Rouge. Want to thank Adam Epstein from The Game in Richmond, Virginia, for coming on the show. Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast for coming on the show. Kevin and Jarrell from Moving the Chains for joining us in the last segment. We have been stacked, racked, locked, and loaded today as we get ready for football. So, as we wrap it up today, I have asked you all, what's the biggest lesson, takeaway, storyline that we will learn in week one? And obviously, you have to be very careful about week one. I have already said that earlier in the show. I had a bet yesterday on the Nebraska Cornhuskers to cover 6.5 against the Bearcats of Cincinnati. They did not. They did get the win because Cincinnati, for some reason, decided inside a field goal range down 3. The right play was a 39-yard Hail Mary when your quarterback had 69 passing yards on the day at that point. Not great, Bob. Not great. But week one, you got to be careful. The takeaway from me for Nebraska was, look, there's a lot that changed for that program this year. I'm going to give them a week or two to figure it out before I go, nope, that's it. This team is still a fraud. I'm going to give them some time. The acknowledgement must be that it is week one. There will be some knee-jerk reactions, some overreactions, which we will do on Tuesday when we come back from the Labor Day vacation. Now, with that being said, we still can take away some stuff. We can still learn some things. I have given you my what to watch for in Clemson and in South Carolina. For the Clemson Tigers, the question is, do you have even a semblance of a run game? I am not, by asking this question, stating that you don't. I'm stating that I don't know if you do. And I think we will at least get to see an idea. At least I think we'll learn if we have an idea. I think even if they're not wildly successful on the ground against a very good LSU Tiger team, I think you'll at least be able to walk out of that game going, well, the foundation was there, right? And maybe they do. Maybe they go out there and they bust it. I don't know. Maybe we come back on Tuesday and we go, damn, Clemson can run the football. Like, it's not all on Cade. And we may come back on Tuesday and go, damn, they can't run the football at all. They're in trouble. Cade's going to have to throw for 325 and 3 touchdowns every game to give them a chance. That's the biggest takeaway. Is there, at least for Clemson, the foundation for a successful run game? For South Carolina, the question is going to be, did you put yourself on the map for the voters? Did you create a world where the College Football Playoff Selection Committee at least notices you? Because again, 10-2 will get you in if you are South Carolina this year. 10-2 will get you in. 9-3, you might be, because you do have that tough of a schedule. 9-3 might get you in. You might become the first 9-3 at-large team in the expanded college football playoffs. But if that is going to happen, and I think you should prepare as if it will, because again, the back half of that schedule is rough. If that is going to happen, I think you have to put yourself on the map Sunday. I think you need to blow the doors off of a ACC team in Virginia Tech. I think you need the people on that selection committee who will not meet and vote until November. I think you need them thinking about you now. I think especially because if you go 9-3, those 3 losses are most likely all going to come in the back half, right? The theory is if you're going to lose, get it the hell out of the way early. You can't. You can't. I've already said, if this Gamecock team does not start 5-0, they will not make the playoffs, because the likelihood of going 4-2 in those final 6 games against top 10 teams, it's a strong possibility. I think it is just as big of a possibility that you go 3-3. And if you drop even one of the first 5, 3-3 eliminates you from even being considered. If you lose one of the first 5, you must then go 4-2 down the stretch. And 9-3 is not a guarantee. If you want to be in the playoff, you need to go 5-0 out of the gate. And in those 6 of 7 against top 25 teams down the stretch, you cannot at that point, you cannot do worse after that than 4-2. So I think the question mark is, did South Carolina do enough against Virginia Tech to where the voters have you in their thoughts a couple months in advance? And then the question will be week by week, do you do enough in these first 5 weeks that you stay at the forefront of their thoughts when it comes time to submit some ballots? Those are the big questions that I have for your 2 teams. I think there are some other questions that we are going to get answered this weekend. Last night, and let me be very clear, this is not an indictment. I did find it interesting last night that the Big Ten went 0-4 against the spread against MAC level teams. 0-4 against the spread. That basically tells me that nobody from that conference stood out in week 1. It's week 1. Don't overanalyze. Don't overthink this. It is just week 1. And considering some of the Big Ten teams that played last night are teams that are, I think, going to take some time to get the ball rolling, I do not think it is going to be that way the entire run. I am going to say I was shocked last night that the Big Ten went 0-4 against group of 5 teams against the spread. It means nobody stood out. It means nobody overperformed. And I am looking for out of that conference.
Was a major Big Ten team playing last night?
No.
Okay, so mostly the bottom feeders.
Correct. But here's the problem with the bottom feeders. If you end up in a spot where Oregon is 10-2, Penn State's 10-2, Ohio State's 10-2. If you end up with one of your heavy hitters at 10-2, what makes the distinction between why a 10-2 team in your conference should go over a 10-2 team in the SEC? Or hell, if I'm right about the ACC, a 10-2 Big Ten team should go ahead of a 10-2 ACC team. If I'm right, I might not be, but if I am, the point here is, if you're the Big Ten, I think right now the conversation is we need to show that we have depth in this conference, because I think the narrative, at least for me, the narrative is it's not a conference with depth. It's not. It's a conference that's got 3 good teams, 2 mid teams, and then a bunch of teams that don't scare me all that much. The question is, can you get the bottom feeders performing in a way that if there is a lot of teams at the end of the year all sitting on the bubble together, can the bottom half of the conference build enough of a enough of a foundation of respect for the conference that the teams in the top of the conference, if they end up in a bubble, can ride the resume to a playoff spot? And keep in mind, this is not just about having teams in the playoffs. This is about the paycheck to the conference that comes because teams are in the playoffs, right? Like, it is mission critical that you make every dollar and dime that you can make. And getting teams into the playoffs is the easiest way to stack a whole lot of millions for everybody in the conference to kind of float all boats with the rising tide, so to speak. So I am going to be interested in what the rest of the bottom half of the Big Ten looks like over the weekend. So let's do this. There's just a couple of thoughts. You're welcome to text yours in to 844-326-3663. Kane leaves a chat comment. He said, does the SEC have better depth? The answer is we're going to find out. But my preseason prognostication is, yeah, they do. I think they do. I think this year, and if you have followed this show for any length of time, you know that I have historically, traditionally, consistently been probably one of a very small number of hosts across this region and the South that is always pushed back against the SEC. It just means more narrative. We're the SEC and nobody else deserves to exist narrative. I have always pushed back against it. I'm having a hard time doing that this year. I think there's a lot of good teams in this conference, like a lot of good teams in this conference. Kane, that is the reason I have said I think 9-3 in the SEC is good enough to send you to the playoffs this year. Hey, with some help. But I think it is possible a 9-3 SEC team this year could grab the 12th seed because of that depth and that quality in the conference. All right. Send your thoughts, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. When we come back, we take a look at the schedule for tonight. We take a look at the schedule over the weekend. We'll give you some picks, predictions, and prognostications for all the games. And we wrap this bad boy up and head into the college football weekend next on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Live read, guys. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Wait, any mama don't know.
You're not singing country again, right?
Taylor.
Okay.
Early Taylor.
Well, that song, the song I kept playing yesterday was in my head all day. Was it yesterday or the day before?
No, day before.
What day is it?
All right, let's take a look at the college football schedule here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate as we wrap up our broadcasting week and head into not just a 3-day weekend, people. No. We head into the college football 3-day weekend. Let's get to it. We'll look at some of the big games on the schedule tonight and tomorrow. Tonight, really just two that jump off the page. 8 p.m. tonight, the Auburn Tigers on the road at the Baylor Bears. Auburn is a 2.5 point favorite in this one. I genuinely have no idea what to make of the Auburn Tigers right now. I have no idea. On one hand, Hugh Freeze is up against it. And I talked to someone yesterday who is a dear friend of mine that covers the Southeastern Conference, who said to me that they think Hugh Freeze is not just on a hot seat. They think that the folks at Auburn are already having behind-the-scenes conversations, waiting for a trigger moment. We talked about this with some of the coaches that have been fired over the years. You kind of need that trigger moment to go ahead and fire a guy. And I'm blanking on which one it was, but the NBA coach this year who lost his job with what, like five games left to play until the playoffs. Oh, Denver's coach, Michael Malone. When Michael Malone got fired, and they were like 5 games out from the playoffs and had already locked in a spot. And they fired Michael Malone, and everybody was like, yo, WTF. But they lost like 5 games in a row. We're still locked in, but they lost like 5 in a row, and they fired the guy. And there were a bunch of people that came out of Denver and said, look, man, like the Nuggets entered this year already looking for that moment. They waited too long to fire him in the offseason. And whether it was because Jokic was done or they thought guys were going to leave because of him at the end of the year or whatever the case was, they were just looking for that trigger moment. I think that might be the case with Hugh Freeze at Auburn. 2.5 point favorites. Sorry, Keegan. I love you, buddy. I'm actually going to call the upset here. I'm going to call the upset unless there is a quarterback shift in this game. Unless, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the rumor coming out of Auburn that Hugh Freeze does not want to go with the guy that they paid a lot of NIL money to transfer there in Jackson Arnold. He actually wants to go with the backup Deuce Knight. The problem being they paid a lot of money to the guy out of the transfer portal in Jackson Arnold. Unless Hugh Freeze makes that shift, Zoe, I'm going to pick the upset and go with the Baylor Bears at the crib over Auburn as a 2.5 point dog.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
I'm going to go with Auburn. I can't believe they have fallen so far that they would lose to Baylor.
Georgia Tech on the road out at Colorado. And while we did not do an audio blitz today because of the absolute sheer number of guests that we had joining us.
A lot of guests.
A lot of guests today. Give me Georgia Tech. However, also give me Deion Sanders with this bite. Oh, why is it? There it is. I found it. Don't worry about it. Here's the clip.
Anything about Folsom, about this stadium that surprised you, that you didn't expect?
Yeah. The smell of weed in the second quarter it surprised the heck out of me. Like every game, I'm like, dang, like it seems like it's like a light up quarter. You know what I'm saying? Like, so is this the quarter that y'all chose? Like, I'm serious. It's a TV timeout. It never fails. And I'm like, wow.
You know, some of the great traditions in college football, Osceola and Renegade planting the spear, Clemson running down the hill, Space Odyssey playing with the towels waving, Sandstorm kicking up, the Hokies coming out to enter Sandman, and 10,000 joints lighting up across Boulder, Colorado. Best traditions in football.
It is legal there. So I wasn't aware you could do that legally inside a stadium, but I mean, you know.
I have no idea. I also know that that's not going to stop people.
By the way,
at all.
Much like what happened with Boise State yesterday, I think that Colorado is going to be taken lightly because of the sheer star power that they lost. I'm going to pick Colorado with the upset.
I think Colorado is going to be taken lightly because of the sheer star power that they lost. Unfortunately, good vibes don't replace a Heisman Trophy winner and an NFL quarterback. Good vibes don't do that. Tech, wins this thing going away, in my opinion. Let's go to Saturday's matchups. We open it up at noon. The Texas Longhorns on the road in Columbus, Ohio. I've already given my pick. I don't think we have to worry too much about what Zoe's is. By the way, interestingly enough, the Ohio State Buckeyes were dogs by 3.5 to open. That line now bet down to 1.5. A lot of money coming in Ohio State. Give me the Buckeyes at the crib with the dub.
Yeah, I'm just this is the battle of hyped quarterbacks. I guess. Well, I don't guess. We know that Arch Manning has the most hype. I'm not going to bet against the Buckeyes.
I don't think you would. Be weird if you did.
I'll go against my team if I think they're going to lose, but I don't think they're going to lose.
I think they could lose, but I am going to take Ohio State at the crib. Let's look at this one. I'm going to tell you right now, this game interests me a lot. It's not necessarily one that has drastic national importance. I do think this one could be more interesting because, and we talked about this at ACC Media Days, I did have some sit-downs with some of the fellas from the Syracuse football team. They are ready to go to war for Fran Brown. I got the vibe about Fran Brown. Very similar vibe to the one I got about Brent Key when he made his debut at ACC Media Days a couple of years ago. Syracuse is a 13.5-point dog on the road at Tennessee. Neyland Stadium is obviously going to be hopping. I'll pick Tennessee in this game. I will say keep your eye on it just in case because it might be sweaty at the end for the Vols.
That would be rough for because Tennessee fans would. Tennessee's going to win this game now.
I think so. I'm just saying keep your eye on it in case it gets interesting. Give me Mississippi State over Southern Miss on the road. Some of the other big games on Saturday. Do not have a line on this game. I don't know if they will come out with one. Navy is going to smoke VMI. I only mention Navy because they are my group of 5 champion. Indiana at the house, number 20 in the country, taking on Old Dominion. Indiana favored by 23.5 in this one. Speaking of losing the star power, I don't know if Indiana's got it to cover 23.5. I'm not going to touch that game. I am going to say I'm glad Kurt Cignetti's back in my radar.
I heard that coach wins.
Just Google him.
Yeah.
Penn State at home taking on Nevada. The Wolfpack coming to Happy Valley. Penn State 43.5-point favorites in this one.
That's a lot of points.
Hot take, they cover.
Okay.
Hot take, they cover. No. I don't think it's a hot take. I think Penn State's going to win that by 50.
Maybe if it was week 2, they would cover, but I don't know about week 1.
I think Penn State's going to run the football a lot more than people think they are. I think a lot of people got caught up in Drew Aller, and I understand that. Penn State ran the football last year. Penn State will run the football this year. There's no need not to run the football. And as James so eloquently said on the stream, Nevada is not good. So I'll take Penn State to cover 43.5 in that one. Marshall's at Georgia. Georgia 38.5-point favorite. Same thing. Sorry, Thunder and Herd. You're walking into a buzzsaw. I got Georgia winning the SEC. I think they covered 38.5.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Here's your hot take. The line has moved. Florida State was a 13.5-point dog. It is now Alabama minus 14.5 points. Alabama wins. Florida State covers.
I said I believe Florida State's back.
Not that back.
I don't think Alabama is as good as people are. I'm going to pick Florida State in the upset. I mean, here's the thing. I really do believe that could happen. And the other thing is there's nothing on the line for me to do that. So,
that's fair.
Yeah.
I will acknowledge that I am in Diesel and Cole's wire-to-wire upset pick. And I did go with this one because it's one of two things is going to happen. Florida State's going to go 4-8. Or they're going to go 10-2.
Yeah.
And there's no in between. I don't think it's 7-5. They're either going to be 4-8 and everybody's going to go, oh, how the mighty have fallen. Or they're going to go 10-2, get into the playoff, and everybody's going to be like, yo, what the hell is that? I will sprint through some more through the rest of the day. Florida at home against Long Island. No line on that one. I'll take them to cover up whatever it is. Number 17, Kansas State hosting North Dakota. Texas A&M, UTSA, Clemson, LSU. The Tigers are 4.5-point favorites over the Tigers. Give me Clemson to cover.
Almost for decades, I have been on Clemson's radar, and people hate me who are Clemson fans. But if they look back for the majority of the time, I usually pick Clemson to win. I've said before, I'll say again, Clemson is the ACC, especially this year. They're the ACC. And, they're going to win.
Yeah, I think they
And
cover up.
we're gonna watch Chip Kelly's face just morph into something unrecognizable. It's gonna be fun.
Georgia State 34.5-point dogs on the road at Ole Miss, number 21 in the country. The next big games we look forward to on Sunday, obviously kick it off with Virginia Tech, South Carolina. The Gamecocks 7.5-point favorites. They got to win by over a field goal in this one. I'm going to go with the optimistic view. Gamecocks cover 7.5. I think they got to win this thing by 12 or better.
Yeah, me too. I think they put on a show in the national spotlight, the only game that's on.
Notre Dame at Miami. Notre Dame 2.5-point favorites. I don't trust Mario Cristobal. Give me the Irish, even with questions at quarterback.
Yeah, Notre Dame wins.
And then we wrap it up. TCU at North Carolina. TCU 3.5-point favorites on the road at Chapel Bill. Horny Toads.
Well, you know where I'm going. Because I think you're wrong. And in order for you to be wrong, that means North Carolina's got to win a bunch of games. So I'm going North Carolina.
Fair enough.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to find out what the X is going on for the last time this week. The first thing that's Xing is Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber Xing because he last night committed unspeakable acts of atrocity against the Atlanta Braves. 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 gigantic dongs put on display last night by Kyle Schwarber. Becomes the 21st player in Major League Baseball history to have a 4 home run game. The Phillies rout the Braves 19-4. And to the texter who texted earlier and said, Rob, good news, college football is here. You can stop worrying about the Braves. Buddy, I stopped worrying about the Braves 2 months ago. I'm not worried about the Braves. They're trash-tastic. I'm already looking forward to 2026.
I'm not even going to give you a buddy there. It deserved that.
100% it did.
For sure. All right. The next thing it's Xing, and I don't know why. I just want to say this. Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius. Why Xing? It's not.
I went there to find out. It was a bunch of philosophical takes.
Yeah. So Marcus Aurelius was obviously a Roman emperor in the 100s, I think. Like in the 100s. I know that he was either the 4th or the 5th of the 5 good emperors, which is a group where Rome was really kind of at its peak, the ancient Roman Empire. And he was kind of known for having a very good relationship with the Roman philosophers of the day. I don't know why he's trending.
Me either, but I just want to say Marcus Aurelius. We'll find out why he's trending. I don't know. The next thing that's trending is Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes is trending because adrenaline is in his soul, and every thought is out of control. I don't know the answer to that because I have not watched wrestling in 2 weeks.
You're so focused on college football that you missed a few things. So no. I'm giving you excuses for not knowing why. Just had a baby girl.
Oh, yeah. Good for him and Brandy.
It just came across the wire.
Good for him.
Breaking news on it. So, but yeah. All right. The next thing it's Xing is, we got enough time. Just a couple more. Next thing it's Xing is Michael Jackson.
Birthday or death day?
Well, birthday.
Michael Jackson is.
Can you think of Michael Jackson and not think of the accusations, or can you just think about the music?
Yes and no. That whole situation remains very complicated. And I have over the years made an effort to understand and get to where I can separate art from artists just to accept mainstream. But I don't think you can. I don't think you can.
All right. The next thing it's Xing is Peacemaker episode 2.
Dropped last night or dropped today?
This is the funniest and most disturbing out of all of the ones that they've had for 2 seasons so far.
Love it. I have finished but I have to watch the season finale from last year, and then I'll be in.
I laughed out loud. It doesn't happen very multiple times. Tim Meadows is the man. That's all I'm saying.
Tim Meadows is amazing.
He is. All right, and finally,
you don't want this, Dewey Cox. It's not addictive at all.
Finally, the last thing that's Xing is Lee Corso.
Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we say farewell to one of the GOATs. Tomorrow, the final broadcast of Lee Corso, a legend and icon in sports broadcasting the final college game day of One Lee Corso tomorrow. I'm going to keep it a buck. When we start Bet for the Cycle, the final ever edition of Bet for the Cycle tomorrow at noon, your boys' eyes are going to be red and a little misty. I guarantee it. The ladies' man. Yes, I am the ladies' man. Freaking love Tim Meadows. What? Tim Meadows is in like the GOAT comedian group who's never mentioned in the GOAT comedian group.
He is so funny in this episode. It's his first one. Episode 2 is his first one on Peacemaker. It's hilarious.
I'm going to say more than most other comedians. I don't think you can name me a thing Tim Meadows in that he's not hilarious in. That is it for us. Y'all enjoy the football weekend. We're out on Monday. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Be back here Tuesday because we're going to have a gazillion things to talk about, and we will. See you back here Tuesday on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later. Adrenaline in my soul.
There were a bunch of people complaining about because Cody Rhodes wasn't going to be at Clash of Paris. And on SmackDown, it's like, yeah, I think he's got a good reason.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. When you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. Connect with a local divorce attorney today.
All right, guys. Got it. Enjoy your weekend. Yes, indeed. Just one more, not so fast, my friend. Man, Lee Corso, GOAT legend icon. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy the college football weekend. We will see you back here on Tuesday. See ya.